Benvenuti a Viterbo, a hidden gem in the Lazio region of Italy, where ancient walls surround a town rich with Roman history, thermal springs, and Renaissance charm. But this weekend, the scent of tradition is replaced by the smell of race fuel as the cobblestones give way to curbs and the old world calm is shattered by the thunder of kart engines. Viterbo may be known for his popes and palaces, but for the champions of the future, it's all about those pole positions and those podiums, as this weekend it plays host to round 3 of the champions of the future. Year of opening, well, it's a very modern circuit with the brand new facilities here at the Leopard Circuit Viterbo. Event record set by Scott Marsh in time qualifying a 51.403, and that was with a fresh injury from round 2 in Portimao. Pushing himself forward in this one, we look forward to seeing what they can do in those qualifying heats. But a closer dive and a closer look at the circuit. It is 1,294 metres in total track length. It's 165 metres down the start-finish straight, 170 metres down the infield straight as well. Plenty of places to get those moves down the inside into that braking zone of the hairpin. It's around 9 to 10 metres wide, 6 metres of elevation change in the highest part of the circuit, being turn 10 out there on the track. Bringing us very promptly to those turns. There are 16 of them in total out there. 10 to the right, 6 to the left, and that does include the 2 hairpins out there as well of turn number 5 and turn 12. Overtaking opportunities, well, we can see them into turn 1 at the start of the races. Turn 5, the first major braking zone, down into turns 12. And of course, that final twisty section through 13, 14 and 15. We have seen karts getting their nose down the inside and pushing it through the laps. Top speed though, drivers will be reaching down around the start-finish straight and into the hairpin at turn number 12 at around 121, 110 kilometers an hour around that area. The average around 90 kilometers an hour around the lap as well. It is still a fast-flowing, but it's a tight, twisty circuit. Dramatically different from the first 2 rounds we've had. Andrew, Campillos and Portimao. This track certainly is a driver's track.
It's a driver's track. I think they're really enjoying the challenge of it. It's a circuit where you can properly get into the flow of things, but it is tough to race on, particularly if you've had a poorer qualifying. You've got to work hard. You've got to be very precise with your overtaking. That should provide us some very interesting stories today. We've got a few grids quite mixed up from timed qualifying earlier on in the weekend. We've already had 2 rounds of heats yesterday here at Viterbo. 3 more today. Here's your race director.
Good morning, everybody on RGMMC's radio users and Viterbo staff. It's round 3 of Champions of the Future here at Viterbo. The weather is glorious. The track looks stunning. The people, the team that we have, doing a brilliant job this weekend. Let's hope we have a nice, safe, uneventful day, guys. Stay safe and stay hydrated. It's going to be a hot one. Take care.
It's very impressive. He did that without his lips even moving. That brilliant stuff. There is another man who's out there watching over the racing, Dan Ashton on the gantry. He'll be starting all the races over that one. Tough job for him because, of course, these drivers very quick out of that final corner here, down that start-finish straight into those tram lines as they head down in towards turn 1. He's there, primed and ready on the button, saying, is this good or is it not good? Well, we will find out whether or not they will be, as the first race is coming up very soon. It is OK Junior qualifying heat B versus F, and this will have a very tense front row on this one. Dan Adaman and Maxim Bobachov on the front of this grid, and some really great results from them over the course of yesterday. They had a lot of work to do over the course of qualifying to really push themselves into these positions. Qualifying was absolutely vital, and that man there for the Ward Racing team, Dan Adaman, certainly did a good job of it. Here's what he had to say after time qualifying.
Dan Adaman, the man in form, fastest driver in the 3rd and final group for OK Junior for Ward Racing. Dan, talk me through that lap.
I had the gap and it was the perfect gap. I had a little bit slipstream at the end. It was like a very perfect lap, no mistakes. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how this circuit is to drive. What do you like about the track here in Viterbo?
I like it because of it. It has a lot of corners and not a lot of straight. It's very difficult to overtake here, so you need to make a good qualifying. And the up and down is very cool.
And a good qualifying you've got indeed. Are you confident that you can stay at the front this week?
For sure.
Good stuff. Well, Dan, congratulations. Brilliant lap out there. We'll see you later on this weekend.
Thank you.
Good to chat to Dan Alaman there, who, like we say, will be starting this one at the front of the grid as the karts have made their way out onto the circuit. Let's quickly fire you through that full starting lineup. Dan Alaman and Maxim Bobrozhov will lock out row number 1. They will have Noah Baglin and Devin Waltz on row 2. A very busy day for them, having the same results, but in the other way round. Bruno Blanco and Michael McGoy, they round out and lock out the top 6 on row number 3. Andrea Mani and Bosco Arias go from row 4. They will have Dean Hugendorn and Mateo Rivals on row number 5. The second half of the field, you'll see Turner Brown and Mariano Lopez, Diodato and Luke Tal go from row number 7.
On row number 8, we find Marcel Shebo and Lucas Bonhomme. Zhang Jose and Manny Nuvolini start on row 9. Arata Endo and Nilas Malik start on row 10. Not a good yesterday for Malik, 27th, and then a DQ in the 2 rounds of heats that we saw. Victor Stalmach and Martin Bertolacini start on row number 11. It's Drew Waltz and Kasper Reipold on row 12. Xavier Dudkowski is the first driver to deploy some new tyres, a new half set on the right-hand side of the kart. Let's see how the pole can do from row 13. It's joined by Wen Yubo. Row 14, Marcel Chapler and Vanessa Schilkenater. Row 15, Mats van Rooyen and Samuel Del Gaudio. It's a 31-strong field completed by Georgi Fomichev.
That's a really early deployment
Very
of tyres for Dudkowski, but, you know, he wants to try and push through that field, so we'll keep an eye on the Polish driver starting this one, 25th place. There's a live look at race control. Joanna Falcao joined by Sam Fisher in there, keeping an eye on all of the cameras around the circuit, meaning drivers cannot get away with anything. As we round the final corner into the tram lines, we're not going for a start. It's already been called as the first false start of the day.
Correct decision there. Alaman was already accelerating past Marshall Post 10, which the drivers have specifically told they've got to wait around turn 16, get a good number of the karts into the tram lines or proceed through the tram lines and onto that pit straight. Then they can accelerate once they get to the yellow line, which is positioned just between on the grid hatchings for a standing start between rows 6 and 7. So understandable decision there from Dan Ashton, Deputy Race Director.
Accelerating at post 10, Martin. The poleman started accelerating as soon as he went past me.
Yeah, so they're already talking about it. Bang on the money on that one. Just far too early on that loud pedal. I did a track walk earlier this week. The tram lines do start before the corner of turn 16. Like you were saying, they do need to be in there. And while we were watching on that one, you could see the outside row, they just weren't in the tram lines there at all because they were accelerating too fast around the corner. You've got to keep it slow right here. Keep it nice and close. Get it round the corner, because again, you can see they're not quite in the tram lines there, but are we going racing? Yes, we are, for the first time. Down in towards turn number 1, and Alaman holds on to the lead there. Baglin tried to get a nose down the inside, couldn't quite do it as they dance through the likes of turns 3 and 4, up the hill into the first major braking zone, which is turn number 5, and there are big sends down the inside. The Forza Racing machine of Andrea Mani trying to get the moves done, but has stayed there in position as they all run wide on the exit of turn number 6 and 7. But they climb up the hill, and already, Andrew, we're seeing a nice 4-kart breakaway.
Yeah, 4 karts breakaway, similar start to a number that we saw yesterday, where if you're in this initial breakaway, nice, clean, early couple of laps can start to solidify a strong result in these heats. You do see a bit of field spread around this circuit. It's very corner dense, under 1,300 metres, but they've still got 16 corners to negotiate around this place. Let's count them through. The end of lap 1, Dan Alaman leads from Maxim Bobrozhov. Noah Baglin, winner last time out in Portimao, is there in 3rd. Bruno Blanco has been pretty impressive so far this weekend as the 4th driver in that breakaway. It's then Devin Waltz trying to chase the rest of them down, with Manny, Brown, Hugendorn, McGoy and Mateo Rivals all at the moment in that top 10.
This is where it gets to that really important part of the race. You're going to witness here how tight this track can be for the drivers to get a move done. However, there are opportunities out there, and you know that because Baglin already going defensive there from Bruno Blanco, who is all over that rear bumper. Great day for Blanco yesterday as well, never outside of the top 5, a P5 and a P3 for the Italian after he qualified relatively strong earlier on in the weekend. So he's certainly going to be a contender for this one for the Parolin Motorsport team. Back over the start-finish line they go then. No changes still within that top 4, but there have been big movers further down the order. Drew Waltz from the USA for the Cup Republic team is already up 7 places in this race and is just outside the top 15.
Also, on the move, up 6 spots is someone from the back of the grid, but it's not the driver who set the new tyres on. It's Mats van Rooyen for the CRG factory team is up 6 to 23. How is Dudkowski getting on on those new tyres? No, it's not good, is it? Down 2 spots to 27th place. A couple of moves in the midfield. Lucas Bonham, Marcel Schebo and Drew Waltz have all got past Luke Thal. Luke Thal having a bit of a quiet weekend so far. Was on the podium last time out in Portugal. 11th and 10th yesterday in the 2 rounds of heats. And at the moment, it's looking like a 16th place outside of the top 15 for the Dutch driver.
Certainly is. Drama out on track as well. Wenyabu and Casper Reipold both out of the race. They have collided at turn 6 and 7 on circuit. We've not seen that on camera. Both drivers, though, okay, out of the karts and in Marshall post 4.
So we're into the middle third of this race. Baglin has a little look there at Maxim Bobrishov for 2nd place. And seeing a bit of a trend occurring here with Maxim Bobrishov. Very good in qualifying. Fully warranted that spot on the front row of the grid. It's this middle part of the race where his pace seems to go a bit as Blanco's going to go down the inside of Baglin there. Baglin will try and repay the favour coming out of the hairpin. That's good news if you're Devin Waltz. There's an opportunity here for Devin Waltz, who's been at the front of the chasing peloton, as it were, for the last couple of laps. He could join this fight at the front for the race lead. It could be 5 karts involved.
It certainly could be, and it just shows there how much time you can lose if you don't get a committed overtaking. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was committed, but on the exit just didn't have it sealed in, and that's why you see them really dropping back now from the likes of Bobrishov. But Baglin now seems to have found some pace once more as down the inside, Dean Hugendorn trying to get the move done on Andrea Mani, just not finding the gap down the inside, so they stay in position. And, well, like we say, at the front of the field, Dan Annemann looking very confident here. Great results yesterday for him, and now he's just gone purple on that last lap, and he's continuing to go purple here, Andrew. On Sector 1 and 2, Aleman looking for another fastest lap of the race.
Been really impressed with Dan Aleman so far in this race meeting. Looks to be driving with a newfound vigour. Is a little bit lower down in the championship standings before the start of this weekend, but he's definitely showing himself as a contender here in Italy. So we're into the second half of this one. We're on lap 6 of 10. All of the OK Junior heats are going to be 10 laps today. Aleman is still your race leader from Maxim Bobrishov. Those results would move Aleman into the lead of the intermediate classification. Bobrishov up to 3rd. Now Baglin can hold on to this 3rd place on the road. He would retain his position ahead of Maxim Bobrishov. Blanco, Waltz and Mani still there in the top 6.
Yeah, for Dan Aleman, this is really good for him as well, because he's only got 4 championship points to his name so far over the 2 rounds. He got them in the qualifying heats phase in Campillos earlier this year. He's not scored any more since then. So here right now, this could be a really good weekend for him to bump him up in those championship standings here, because he's currently right down in around 26th place on that grid. Race control message, number 11, Casper Reipold under investigation for potentially causing a collision. We'll see that notification on the gantry. The rest of the field will as well, as Baglin's going to look to the inside here at turn 6 and 7. I saw him lining that up from a mile back, and he's got that done, and he is up into 2nd place. Bobrishov now will have to deal with the likes of Bruno Blanco, who has already tried to get the move done previously on Baglin, but has failed to do so. Is he going to look to the inside here at 12? No, thinks against it. And now, like you were saying, Devin Waltz once more ekes ever closer, looking to the inside maybe. Well, a little bit squirrely under brakes there for Blanco, but he stays there in P4.
It's a tricky run into turn 13. If you're not fully alongside halfway down the little back straight there, very, very difficult corner to outbrake someone into, and Blanco just holding back there. That was the right decision from the driver in the number 82. Key move that for Noah Baglin. I think the order of the day is Blanco now goes down the inside of Bobrishov into turn 5. That's a nice clean move. Hello, here's Waltz down the inside. Nicely done there by Devin Waltz to take advantage of the situation, move himself back up to 4th. But that move for Baglin, I think today's focus is going to half at least be on the other results as well. Maintaining his own results, but also making sure that he's matching two rivals in the championship. Heading into today, Henry Domain leads the championship on 146. Then it's his Forza Racing teammate William Kalesia, 13 points back. Baglin a further 8 back. But when you consider the weekend that Noah Baglin had in Portugal, where he pretty much clean swept the points available, he knows that this weekend it's that middle phase of the season. It's all about keeping the momentum and the pressure up with some solid running out the front of these heats.
Hugendorn all over the back of Andrea Mani here. The two of them still in the chasing fight, trying to close in on Maxim Bobrishov. They've already witnessed those overtakes happening in front of them, and you can just imagine at this point they are wanting to get involved in it. Martin Bertolacini is on the charge. The Argentine for the DPK Racing team is up now into P16 at the expense of Luke Tal of the Victory Lane team. He's been bumped down to 17th place. Eyes on this, Hugendorn right on that rear bumper, looks to the inside, not close enough this time, and Andrea Mani holds on to P6 for the time being. But Andrew, last that board is out this time. If he wants the move, it's got to go now. Yeah,
it's got to go pretty quickly. Just a quick note as well on the tyre watch. How is Xavier Dudkovsky getting on with his new half set? Well, I'm afraid to say the news isn't great. He's marooned down in P26. That's going to be an important piece of information for others thinking about when they're going to deploy their fresher tyres. Meanwhile, back on circuit, look at this fight here for 6th place between Andrea Mani for Forza Racing and Dean Hugendorn for Prema Racing. Dean Hugendorn, who's had a very good season so far, enters this weekend 6th in the standings. He's having to work hard again to try and find a way through.
He certainly will. He'll go defensive into 12. This will limit his exit speed here, and they will go wheel to wheel somewhat in towards turn 13. But again, Andrea Mani on that Forza Racing machine has got the legs, but even bigger legs is Ward Racing's Dan Aleman out of the final corner. It's another beautiful win for the Swiss driver. He claims it and leads that intermediate classification with 144 points. It's a beautiful start to the day for the young Swissman who went fastest in grouping qualifying earlier on this weekend. It's a Leinster flag for the Ward Racing driver. A beautiful end. To a beautiful start to his day. Baglin finishes in 2nd place ahead of Bruno Blanco. Devin Waltz finishes in P4 ahead of Maxim Bobrishov. Andrea Mani in P6 from Dean Hugendorn. Michael McGoy, Turner Brown and Bosco Arias round out the top 10 as the field make their way back to Parc Ferme.
Very good professional job yet again from Dan Aleman. That will move him to 144 intermediate points from a possible 150, and throws the ball back into the court to the likes of Kalesia and Garciase, who overnight were on a perfect score of 100. There's your provisional results. Aleman from Baglin, Blanco, Devin Waltz, Bobrishov in the top 5, Mani, Hugendorn, McGoy, Brown and Arias all in the top 10. Jolie Girardello was next up in 11th place ahead of Matteo Rivals, Lucas Bonham, Marcel Shabo and Drew Waltz, who also had a good race in that one, up 8. Martin Bertolacini 16th ahead of Luke Tal, Arata Endo, Mariano Lopez and Manny Nuvolini, Nilas Malik, Jiang Jose, Mats Van Rooyen, Vanessa Schulkenater and Victor Stalmack all in the top 25. Tyre watch P26 for Xavier Dudkovsky on those new tyres, simply not able to use the extra grip to translate that into positions gained. Marcel Chapler, Samuel Del Gaudio and Georgi Tomichev, the last of the 29 finishers, 2 retirements from earlier on in the race. Wen Yubo and Casper Reipold.
Well, there's the nice cheeky smile on Dan Aleman's face. A good run for him. This is how it all transpired. Down in towards turn 1. You can see Baglin immediately trying to go to the inside there. But the speed you can carry through turn 1 is so immense. Watch Aleman just be able to carry it through. Beautiful stuff at the start. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Is that the reason why Devin Waltz went backwards, I think, in the early stage of that race? But he certainly came back, though, into position. Very fast part of the circuit there. These are the first little overtakes we saw in the background. Big dives down the inside for Turner Brown, the driver from the USA for the Ricky Flynn team, getting those overtakes done. This was the beautiful overtake here from the Paralympic Motorsport driver Bruno Branco, trying to get down the inside at turn 12. Baglin retaliating to it, though, and holding it round the outside. And this is what we mean. They lost so much time with this one. Devon was able to close in. They lost so much time to Bobajov up ahead because it tightened so much on the exit. You think that you can run wide and you can hold it there, but no, it just runs to grass straight away, and then you get a bit of drama all the way throughout. There was the Fusion driver, Mariano Lopez, as well, getting the moves done into the top section of the circuit. This was that beautiful piece of driving that we saw from Baglin down the inside of Bobajov, utilising that exit curb there, which they are allowed to do over this weekend. And then later on, Blanco doing the same. Bobajov not having the full race I think he wanted in that one.
No, and I think maybe a bit of work to be done there for Bobajov and the mechanics to suss out why haven't they quite got the longevity in their pace across the course of these heats, because that is a bit of a trend that seems to be forming for Bobajov across the course of the meetings so far. Well, that's one race down, another one coming up, of course, and we switch our attention over to the senior category, groups B and F, ready to go for them. And in this race, Anthony, you've got a driver on it who has taken a race win, and the only driver yesterday who didn't win, or was able to win, from off the front row. On the front row, though, is this young driver here on home soil. Nicolo Coman had a very good day yesterday. Here is what he said after qualifying.
Well, qualifying Group 2 for the senior categories here at the Viterbo circuit in Italy for round 2 of the Championship of the Future. Nicolo Coman, fastest in Group 2, second fastest overall, only by 1/100th of a second. Very quick. How are you feeling after that qualifying?
Super happy, definitely, super happy. I push every single lap. I put all the laps together, and finally, big one. I'm super happy, super happy.
It is great to see you back in the paddock as well. Of course, we missed you for a year or so, but how are you feeling after being back in it and getting into the rhythm of things? Because certainly it seems to be going well.
Yeah. All the testing were good, and then also in qualifying, because we were missing a bit this morning, but now we put everything together, and the lap come out, and I'm super happy.
Yeah. This weekend's going to be a tough one. Are you ready for the challenge?
Absolutely, yes, but also I know that the competition will be very, very hard, difficult, but I think we were ready.
Excellent. Well, congratulations, Nicolo. We'll see you out there in those qualifying heats. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nicolo Coman there, 2 second places for the Italian yesterday. And we have seen across the course of the heat so far that really on this weekend, starting from the front of the field, gives you quite the bedrock to build upon. Big thanks to the volunteers, the marshals, the track workers, all the officials here at the Leopard Circuit. Viterbo, brilliant hosts for us this weekend. There's the other driver on the front row of the grid for this one, Thibaut Ramicus. Solid day yesterday for the Belgian, 5th and 4th across his 2 heats, and Ramicus will be looking for another good start here from the outside of row 1. Yeah,
indeed. Tricky to get the start from outside, of course. Very fast opening at turn number 1. You've got the whole field on the inside, of course, wanting to get the moves down the inside. Craigie as well, who'll be starting this one on the second row of the grid. He's going to be a driver to keep a very close eye on in this. The Prema Racing driver, the Mercedes back driver as well, from the United Kingdom. P4 and a win yesterday. He was able to get that overtake done on Nicolo Coman and put himself into P1.
The only driver yesterday who was able to win a heat in any of the categories from outside the front row. Yeah. So Kenzo Craigie will have the confidence that he can do it again, and the knowledge of how to as well. And it was Nicolo Coman who he put the move on in the second round of heats yesterday to get that victory. So yeah, very good weekend so far for Kenzo Craigie. Dean Pedersen will be on the second row with him. You can just see Pedersen there on the right-hand side of your screen in kart 254 for the Karts Republic Works team.
Indeed. Well, moments away from getting this race started. The yellow light will be flashing. They'll be waiting for that whistle to blow to be able to get those karts started up and fired up down the infield straight here. They perfectly designed little panic area that they've got here. They've got the long straight all the way down to the white line. Beautiful way to get them started. No tight turns that they've got to do or anything. It's a straight run down as they exit the pit lane at the exit of turn number 2. Well, the karts make their way out onto the circuit. Let's fire you through that full starting lineup. Nicolo Coman, the pole sitter, fastest in group in his one earlier on this weekend, starts it on the front row of the grid. We'll have Timo Ramek's company alongside. Kenzo Craigie and Dean Pedersen go from row 2. They will have Oliver Kinmark and Jakub Mikulev on row at number 3. Aston Sharp and Noah Wolf go from row number 4. Tough day for Wolf yesterday after a brilliant start in his first, had troubles in his second. Kenneth Fairhand and Vladimir Vanikov lock out row number 5. Joe Turney, the man to watch this season, starts this one on the 6th row of the grid. Alexander Chartier joins him alongside, with the first half of the field being Sebastian Mins and Davide Bottaro.
Lev Krutilov and Klosif Nugred, they go from row number 8. It's Federico Rossi and Sunan Z on row 9. Makar Savalev and Ella Hakkinen complete the top 20 for the start of this qualifying heat. They're on row 10. Stylianos Kolovos and Klara Kowalczyk go from row number 11. Emily Koivisto and Georgi Zazov, they're on row 12. It's a returning Oscar Repetto on row 13 alongside is Romeo Roussel. Mattis Omerta completes the 27-strong field in this heat for groups B and F. 14 rows in total, and a quick reminder of the points from overnight. Marsh and Kostoya both not in this race. They share the lead in the OK category after 2 rounds, 100 points from the possible 100. Peschel is 3rd on 94. Kuan and Craigie both on 88 are the highest ranked drivers in this particular heat as we get things going for the senior category.
Yes, indeed. Field make their way in the infield section now. They'll be heading into the last couple of corners into the tram lines. Nicolo Coman and Timo Ramek's on the front row of the grid for this one. What will happen then as it goes forward, as they make their way into that final corner? They enter into the tram lines as we are about to go racing. Are the lights out? Yes, they are. We are heading down in towards turn 1. It's a beautiful start for the inside row. Coman holds on to that inside line. Ramek's now needs to slot his way in, but where does he slot in? Into 3rd place as Craigie is going to go for the lead, but he can't quite get that nose down the inside.
Good start there from Coman. Good hustling as well from Kenzo Craigie. Timo Ramek's, as you say, has been able to hold in 3rd place. Not a bad spot to be in the early stages. One driver off towards the rear of the field, just running out of the double apex left-hander of 6 and 7. It's Coman leading from Craigie down into the second of the big hairpins, turn number 12, out of it, and immediately into this tricky complex here. Long turn 13, a straight switch into turn 14. Here's a battle further back. Joe Turney on the outside of 3 wide through 15. And Noah Wolf slightly up the road as well in all of that. So it's Coman from Craigie, Ramek's, Kinmark, Sharp, that's the top 5. And then it's a trio of Brits, Wolf, Mins, Turney, 6th, 7th, 8th, Fairhand and Pedersen also in the top 10. Not a good start there for Dean Pedersen.
Down the inside, more overtakes coming in thick and fast there. It's a beautiful little lunge for Dean Pedersen, trying to fight his way through. That's the exit of turn number 6 and 7. You've got to be so careful there that you don't use too much of that exit curve, because it runs out pretty quickly, and just as quickly as he was gaining places, he's going to lose out on them as well, because as soon as that train gets a nose down the inside, that's it. Through they go, and look at this, they're still 3 wide heading in towards turn 13. Such a rapid circuit, so much is happening at the same time. There is no rest time at all for these drivers as they make their way around the lap. It is so busy for them, but right now they are focusing on what they need to do, and that is the fight for position. Nicolo Coman though still in the way from Kenzo Craigie. Ramek's now finding himself back into a rhythm as he hunts down the Briton who sits there in 2nd place.
Yeah, it's good stuff at the moment as Noah Wolf goes down the inside of Timo Ramek's, takes 3rd place, knows that he needs to get on with things here if he's going to recover back up the intermediate classification. Noah Wolf has been running very well indeed across a variety of categories in the last 5 or 6 weeks. We're on the 3rd lap of 12. in this one. A few more moves further down the order. Davide Bottaro is through past Kara Furhan for 12th place. Vladimir Ivanikov is through past Jakub Mikulev for 12th place. End of another lap. Nicolo Kuman looking stronger at this stage of the race than he was in Heat 2 yesterday. If anything, it's Craig who's going to have to be on the defensive at the moment as Noah Wolf closes in. Yeah,
well, Wolf has deployed fresh tyres. He's utilising those now. He's got a brand new set on the left-hand side of his wagon, and he has pushed it through into second place. This is exactly what he did in his first race yesterday. And he's doing it again today, but this time with those fresh tyres, he might go for a win on this one. Eyes on the drivers further behind. This is the Kinmark, Mins, Sharp, Turney battle on your screen. Turney's going to go down the inside of Aston Sharp. He's got that move done, and that's a 4th-place game now for the Briton, the champion from last year, who is now vying for another one this year, but so far it's been a tough start for him. Eyes at the front, the overtake has happened. Noah Wolf has taken the lead. We missed that one on camera, and now he's going to try and push all the way to the end.
Is indeed, and well, maybe this is a little different in the story for the seniors versus what we saw for the junior category in the first race of the day, that the new half set bolted on that left-hand side. You can make positions up with this particular compound and all the noise factors coming into play with this situation for the drivers. So Wolf leads, Command second, Craig is still there in third. You mentioned Joe Turney moving up through the order past Aston Sharp for 7th place. And key for Joe Turney today is keep consistency going. We saw some good moves up the field from Turney yesterday. His title rival Jacopo Martinez is in a similar position. This is how Wolf got the move done, using a good chunk of the curb there past Marshall Post 9. So that'll have been in the second half of the complex, just through turn 14. Beautifully positioned move there from Wolf.
Yeah, that was really nice, actually. Just utilising that curve, like you said, on the inside, just to pull the cart around with those fresh tyres on board. Yeah, that was nicely done for him. And Nicolo Coman, who thought he hadn't left a cart size gap down the inside, suddenly realised that he had. Now he's on the back foot a little bit here because Kenzo Craigie is starting to close in as well. Craigie under braking there, looks so confident as they climb up the hill. Really tricky on the exit there. The cart goes light. It kind of understeers a little bit off wide, but it gives you an optimal line into the next corner, of course, at turn 11. But very tricky on the exit at turn 10 there. These drivers certainly having to make sure they've got the tyres for that part of the circuit. You don't want a cold front set there because you will just wash out onto the grass. Out of the final corner they go, on to lap number 7 and 8 of this race. But still, it is a good run at the moment for Noah Wolf, who's breaking away now a gap of 0.8 of a second.
And a new fastest lap of the race from Noah Wolf of 52.281 last time around. Good pace indeed. Noah Wolf will look to probably just manage this now. Doesn't want to take too much out of this new half set of tyres. He's deployed them and made them very effective indeed. As we see a notification there.
Race control then. Yes. 241 restart in the lap 2 will be a report, the second report for 241.
Well, that's
Stylianos Kolovos.
Yeah, the Greek driver. Unfortunately, new regulation change into 2025. You are not allowed to restart the kart after the first opening lap. You are allowed to do it on the opening lap only, and only still the one attempt. And unfortunately, lap number 2, that's no good.
And to make matters even worse for Kolovos, it was an unsuccessful restart. Yeah. So Kolovos is not circulating anymore, as there is the 239 of Makos Savalev out of this race. There's the 241 in evidence on your screens that Kolovos is no longer circulating out there. Georgi Zazov, by the way, did not take the start of this race. So for anyone following the progress of the driver in the AKM Motorsport entry, unfortunately it's not going to be a good point score on this occasion. Back in the front of the field on lap 8, 4 to go after this one. I tell you what, Nicolo Kuman closing back in here to Noah Wolf. We saw a little bit of this from Kuman yesterday in the battle he had with Kenzo Craigie in the second round of heats. He's dropped Craigie, in fact, at this stage of the race. Latest notification from race control, a 5-second time penalty for Amelie Koivisto. That is the reason why we're seeing the black and white flag unfurled out there on circuit.
Indeed. Well, pushing through nicely. One driver who's impressing me in this one at the moment, Oliver Kinmark holding there in 5th place, the Koski Motorsport driver. Junior last year, of course, fighting now up at the sharp end with these drivers and certainly putting his work in. You can see him there, he's tucking right in behind the likes of Thibaut Ramekers on your screen. Ramekers, of course, another driver who has really impressed over the course of his racing, but he is one to certainly keep an eye on, I suspect, the junior from last year, now into seniors of Kinmark. Warning flags going out, of course, you've just mentioned that one, Andrew. Emilio Koivisto being the recipient of that one.
Yeah, that'll be a non-appealable 5-second penalty as well. There on your screens are a quick look at the intermediate classification standings. Kuman would go back to the lead midway through this 3rd round of 5 for these qualifying heats. Craigie up to 2nd place. Marsh and Costoya would still be well positioned though to take the lead back should they perform well in their heats following up after this. There's a quick look on the screen of tyre situation as well. Wolf, as we know, doing a very good job managing his new half set. Ella Hakkinen's made a little bit of progress in this race, up 3 positions to 17th with her new half set as well. A little bit further back, but still in the top 10. This is the battle between Davide Pataro, Dean Pedersen and Alexander Chartier for 9th place. Pataro leading things at the moment in that works CRG.
Indeed, pushing through pretty nicely. You can see that battle unfolding here on your screen. Aston Schultz still not finding that way through, but the fight's still on within that mid-pack here. Still a good charge for the drivers.
We found on the track a cover chain, but we don't know which is the car involved. Maybe it will be checked when the race is over.
Okay, so a chain guard there coming off a kart, and yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Down the inside, nice little overtake there for Jakub Mikulev, pushing his way up the order into the likes of around P10, P11. So a nice little fight he's having here on your screen, but watch them as they head down that start-finish straight, because you can see the dust that's getting kicked up in the background there. They're pushing hard out of that final corner, and someone who's certainly been pushing hard over the course of this race is this young man here, Noah Wolf. He's looking for a first victory of the weekend after a 2nd place yesterday and a DSQ. Today is a new day, and he's on top form.
Yeah, back on track is Noah Wolf out of the final couple of corners in a few moments. This is him just going down into turn number 12. Really like how Wolf has managed this race. Got the gap, almost challenged Nicolo Kuman to close him down, but has just held enough in reserve to make sure he didn't have to defend too hard. Through the final couple of corners, here comes Noah Wolf and takes his first heat victory of the weekend and becomes only the 2nd driver to win from off the front row of the grid here in Viterbo. For poor Nicolo Kuman, he's the 2nd driver to be beaten by a driver in that situation, but a trio of 2nd places for the Italians. Still pretty good results for Forza Racing. The drivers will head back to pit lane. They do quite a long run all the way back to the pits here. They do effectively a full return lap going through the final corner as well. But Wolf back in contention. We'll still have to work hard across rounds 4 and 5, but right now he sits 5th in the intermediate classification. Nicolo Kuman takes the race, the points lead, I should say, in the intermediate classification. Kenzo Craigie with that 3rd place also steps up to 2nd place in the IC and keeps the pressure on Kuman as well. Only a 3-point difference between the two of them now. Thibaut Ramekers solid again, another top 5 for the Belgian. Oliver Kinmark as well, a strong run there in the top 5. Sebastian Mins up 7 again to 6th. Joe Turney, solid score again, puts a bit of scoreboard pressure on title rival Jacopo Martinezzi for the forward-coming heats. Also in the top 10 there, Aston Sharp, Davide Bataro and Jakub Mikulev. Dean Pedersen, Alex Chartier, Vladimir Ivanikov, Kara Furhand and Lev Krutelov all in the top 15. A shame there for Krutelov, who had a pretty decent start. Sunanzi ahead of Ella Hakkinen, Clovis Nugared, Clara Kowalczyk and Emily Koivisto in the top 20. That's before 5-second penalties are applied, of course, for Koivisto. Federico Rossi, Oscar Repetto, Romeo Roussel, Mattis Omerta the last of the finishers in that race, 24 of them, 3 retirements, or 3 drivers who didn't see the checkered flag. Stylianos Kolovos and Marcos Savaleva's retirements, and Georgi Zazov as a did not start.
Indeed. Well, there is live pictures of Noah Wolf de-kitting himself after that race. Here's how it all unfolded for it. Starts pretty calm for the field. You can see Ramaker's a bit squirrely there, under braking in towards turn 1 on the outside. You don't want to get caught out the dusty part of the circuit. Luckily, a lot of rubber has gone down over the course of the weekend so far. But keep an eye on that yellow helmet. You could just see making those early moves. Noah Wolf not wasting any time. The same as the field behind. You could see how quickly and how close it could all go wrong to that exit curb, as right on the edge was Karel Fairhand, just trying to keep his cart on the straight and narrow, having a very, very tough race in that one, but still gaining some moves, but finishing that race in around P14. Early doors of that race then, with drivers trying to get through. You have the likes of, again, St. Mintz pushing his way through as well. The driver of the 228 machine having a relatively decent run in his race as well. 7 places gained for him. He had Joe Tony for company right behind, who pushed himself through. But the eyes were focused on that man there, Noah Wolf. Fresh set of tyres on board. Very early deployment for him, but got the job done with him.
Another sign that Noah Wolf, I think, in 2025 has really stepped up to the challenge. You often see this with the driver. It takes them a bit of time, just getting used to the machinery as he's gone through the levels of karting as a sport. But yeah, he's now a bona fide contender, I think, in the OK category for 2025. Looking for podiums as opposed to last year when it was scrapping just for points. This was a great move as well, down the inside of Kuman to take the race lead. The following lap was really important for Wolf as well. Built that lead, used the new tyres to great effect. Other moves down the field, that was Jakub Mikulev, who had a difficult start, but the driver from Malta fought back and into the top 10. For Wolf, though, a first win of the race week, a second, a DQ, and a win now. If he can keep the form of the second and the first continuing on, he's going to really elevate his way up the points standings as the day goes on.
He certainly will. Well, that is the seniors done for the time being. We'll turn our attention over back to the junior category now. Qualifying heat C versus E will be the next one out onto the track, and that will start with the Australian William Kalesia on the front row of the grid. Superb run for him in qualifying. Superb run for him in the qualifying heats as well. Maximum points to his name so far, 100 points in total. He's had 2 qualifying heat wins. He's looking to see if he can keep that momentum up today for the Australian. But it all started with that qualifying, and here's what he had to say.
William Kalesia, fastest driver in Group 2 for OK Junior today. Another Forza Racing driver on top, but just missing out on getting that lap time ahead of Iskender Sulfikari. You still pleased?
Well, I mean, again, we can see that now that our pace is, that the team's pace is really good as well, and on behalf of ours as well is good as well. So, obviously, you'd be happier if you were ahead of, if you were officially P1, but at the moment it's pretty good. Even though we're only first in our group, I think we can make things from there. We can start in a good position for the heats.
Do you feel there was anything else out there that you could have done? Sector 2 on that fastest lap was just a tiny bit slower than what you'd done on the previous lap.
Yeah, the sector 2, I had made a mistake on one of the corners, but I just made sure I kept my head down, and I didn't expect to do that many laps, but and I actually didn't even expect to improve on the second lap. But overall, I think the lap was quite decent, even though it wasn't very consistent. I think it was quite good.
But overall, a lot to be confident about going into this weekend.
Yep.
William, well done once again. Some great pace out there. We'll see you later on.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Short and sweet at the end there from William Kalesia. No other words required, but yep, very confident for this weekend. Good scenario here. You've got 2 drivers on the front row, both of them unbeaten so far this weekend, Anthony, and here's the second one of them. Juan Garciase has been a bit of a surprise this weekend so far.
Yeah, Mexico's hopes there starting on that front row as well. It's going to be a very exciting one for these 2 drivers, because either one of them is about to win their 3rd race of the weekend. Both of them could be about to lose their first race of the weekend. We don't know but definitely it's going to be a tough fight between these two on the front row of the grid. And who have got the perfect seat to watch that fight unfold? Well, Alex Malota and Giacomo Giusto, who will start this one on the second row of the grid, just behind as engines fire up. Drivers make their way out onto the circuit. Let's quickly fire you through that full starting lineup as Deputy Race Director Dan Ashton climbs the ladder and heads to his gantry. It's William Kalesia and Juan Garciase on row number 1. Alex Malota and Giacomo Giusto go from row 2. They'll have Ash Oshtein and Alexander Lazarus on row number 3. Will Green and Denny Babacek round out row 4. They'll have Gregor Callis and Ludovico Mazzola on row number 5. Manuel Miguez and Santiago Diaz de la Vega go from row 6. They'll have Antonio Pettonia and Egon Pedrotti rounding out the first half of the field on row number 7.
On row number 8, it's Olivieri Cini and Roland Nagy. Row 9, Amir Sabarov and Gustavo Marquez de Silva. Antonio Cocchianella hasn't had a set of good results so far, needs a big one from row number 10. Is joined by his compatriot Michele Orlando. Lillian Scarborough and Jagrat de Troja on row 11. De Troja has a new half set of tyres fitted to his 91 machine. Angelina Simmons-Torres and Henry Constant-Kumpen go from row 12. It's Emiliano Hernandez and Emilia Vosmerska on row 13. Victoria Farfus and Pietro Pagutti start on row 14. It's a 30-strong field completed by row 15. Greece's Yanis Kolovos and Belgium's Gilles Herman.
Well, looking forward to seeing what is going to happen in this one here, Andrew. Two drivers who have not lost a race yet are going to go wheel to wheel in this one, and they're both on the front row of the grid. This is going to be a real test now of their commitment to their strategy that they will deploy over the course of this race. One driver I'm going to keep an eye on, of course, like you're saying, Jagrat Tojo, who's starting a little further back, has deployed those fresh tyres as well on the left-hand side, so he's going to be one to keep an eye on. Can he push through the order, the young driver from India? Eyes focus on the front row of this grid, Andrew, as they're heading round into the final couple of corners.
They are indeed. It'll be over to Martin Bean and Dan Ashton to get us going for this one. The drivers at a steady pace through past marshal posts 8 and 9. They've already gone past the red line, indicating no further overtaking. Drivers have got to get themselves ready for this one. They've done the positioning out there on track. Pace is steady and good. Are we ready for a race start? Do the lights go out? No, not on that occasion. I think there was just a little bit of a hesitation there from William Kalesia. He went and then maybe just backed off a little bit. But yeah, Dan Ashton sends them round again, not satisfied that was going to be a fair start.
Indeed, it's hard to tell when they get going. It's such a short little straight here, only 165 metres. The main run. It's only about 90-odd metres run from the start-finish line down into turn 1, so they don't have a lot of time.
7-0.
Correct, and I did speak to him before they went out as well and told him to wait till the yellow line.
Well, 7-0. That is William Kalesia, your pole sitter in this one. So they are keeping a close eye on, saying a little bit early on the old power.
I think my reading of that was the driver's instinct kicked in of like, I want to go now. And then the word from Dan Ashton probably came back in his head of like, no, we don't want to do that. So that's why it was almost like a half jump start, but it's still enough to necessitate a second extra formation lap.
Well, again, you can imagine the tension's pretty high for him as well, because he's got Juan Garciase for company alongside, and he said he wants to make sure he can beat him down in towards turn number 1. That should be the case. He's on the inside line. He will be starting ahead of him over that start-finish line. So, again, he should have the run. But, again, the nerves just kick in for the drivers as, once more, a lot of communication happening there between Juan Garciase and Giacomo Giusto, saying, right, keep it slow, keep it steady. As we head into the trap lines, are we racing this time? Yes, we are. Lights out and down in towards turn number 1. It's a brilliant start for that inside row, and crucially for Kalesia, Malota and Oshtein, they get the run into 1, 2 and 3 down in towards turn number 5. For the drivers behind, it's not gone their way at all, as Juan Garciase needs to fight back through the field. Denny Babacek on the outside line there, gets squeezed onto the dirty part, but he rejoins onto the circuit and keeps that nose down the inside as drivers one ride. On the exit, a lot of dust get kicked up. Not sure who that was, but it was in and around the mid-pack of the field. The rest of the field, though, looking strong. They head down into turn 12 for the first time.
If you're on the inside column there, on that driver's right-hand side, it was a good time to be going into turn 1, because as you say, Kalija Malota, Oshin and Will Green all got really, really good starts there. There is Will Green, the number 51, who, when I spoke to him earlier on in the race meeting, feeling very confident this weekend to build on what's been a tremendous start to his debut season in OK categories. Bit of dust being kicked up in the background there. That may have been Amelia Vishmerska and Victoria Farfus, who've unfortunately fallen to 29th and 30th place. Oh, as there is a problem involving one of your front row starters. Juan Garciase gets together with Asher Oshtein at turn 5. Both of their chances of winning this race is over, and Oshtein, we're past lap 1. He's going to have a go at getting things restarted.
Not to do this.
But that is not within the regulations. He has got it going. But I think we're going to be seeing some messages about that one.
Yeah, that is such a shame, because of course last year, 2024, you were allowed to do that. You were allowed, and it's just that rule that I feel for some drivers has gone under the radar a little bit for them. They keep forgetting it is told to them in the briefings, of course, it is part of it. But yeah, that's such a shame for him. You know what? I think that was just a complete misjudgment of the braking there. Not too sure. It looked like straight into the back. And yeah, not good at all. And Juan Garciase, unfortunately, and I think he's pulled it back into Parc Ferme. His race very much over. Down the inside, that's a big send there for Giacomo Giusto on Alexander Lazarus. That is a beautiful move for third place as the Italian and the Parallel Motorsport machine hunts down Alex Malota in second place.
And keep it on the driver behind them. Manuel Miguez has had a really good start here for CRG. There he is in the number 47. He's just gone purple through sector number 1 as well. Has already gained 6 places. Make it 7. Nice move from the Spaniard down the inside into turn 12. Miguez up to P4.
I'm pretty sure we've said his name many a times over these weekends of being a driver who can sneak through the field under the radar a little bit here. That's a 7th-place gain, not on fresh tyres either, as he's pushed through the field. 2-car breakaway here. Kalija and Malota on the charge, but let's have a look back at what happened earlier on as down in towards, well, that was the overtake there. You can see the rear bumpers and the nose cones there getting very close. Giacomo Giusto just squeezing his way through. There is Juan Garciase out of the race confirmation. He did pull it in, and that's a big shame for him. That's his first loss, and it's not only a second place, that's a DNF as well. That would be a big loss of points.
That could be a defining moment in the weekend. Asher Oshtein has pulled the number 38 in, is out of the race as well. The slight silver lining, if there is one for Garciase, bit of tyre wear saved by not going round and doing another 6 or 7 laps. That could be useful in the next round of heats when he'll have another good grid slot from the front in round number 4. We are on to lap number 5 then. We're in the middle parts of this heat for OK Junior. It's groups C and E out on circuit. If you're just joining us here at the Leopard Circuit Viterbo, there is a notification that I thought was going to be coming in under investigation. Asher Oshtein attempted to restart after the first lap.
Well, attempted and successfully did restart, yeah, indeed, but obviously brought it back into Parc Ferme. Eyes on this one, the train starting to form down the field. This is Olivia Ricini with Michelle Orlando all over the rear bumpers. They head down in towards turn number 12, but again, no fights really between them. They are holding a position at the moment. Zonia is just ahead of them as well. Keep a close eye on that one. Mr. Da Silva has just picked up a 5-second penalty, causing a collision out on the circuit. That will not be well received.
No, won't be at all. We'll need to build from this position now for the rest of the race. We're into the second half of it now. William Kalija looking comfortable out front. Here is a look at the battle for 4th place. Manuel Miguez and Alexander Lazarus, and we said this a little bit on the circuit PA comms yesterday, Anthony. A repeat of a strong performance for Alexander Lazarus in timed qualifying, similar to what we saw in Portimao. Big step forward there, I feel, in terms of racecraft and managing these heats, keeping himself towards the front of the order. It's been a good weekend so far for the Bulgarian.
Yeah, it certainly has, and we'll keep a close eye on his progression in this one, because, like I say, right on that rear bumper of the CRG, keeping him at bay. Eyes on this, though, still kicking off. Sabarov right in the middle of that paddle. De Silva, who was obviously just picked up that warning flag, is in P14, right on that tail end of it. This is the Denny Babacek and Callas battle. This is looking pretty interesting here, and right at the start of this one, you know, we saw Babacek squeezed right onto that grass, kept his nose right into the play of it. And speaking of noses, looking at that front NAS panel, that's an almighty dent he's got in the front of it, as so is this one here. Mr. Cini, who looks down the inside now, has lost out on it, and Marquez de Silva trying to push his way through as well. And with that 5-second time penalty, still not thinking about that. He's focusing on getting those overtakes done.
Good stuff there from Cini. Oh, but pack fights there. The number 34 that back down the inside of Sabarov to retake 12th place in that exchange. So he can get a move done into turn 13. We're on to the 8th lap of this race now. 3/4 of a second is the lead for William Kalesia. Meanwhile, back on your screens, the Callas, Babacek and Green battle.
Oh.
Babacek down the inside. Lovely stuff from the driver from Czechia. Got to say, though, for Gregor Callas, this is a big step forward. Hasn't made it through to the superheats, if I'm right in saying, so far this season, either in Spain or Portugal. A good qualifying from Gregor Callas on the first day of competition has really given him a good platform to launch himself into a best result of the season so far, and he's holding himself in that top 10 throughout the course of these heats so far.
It certainly is. Keep a very close eye on that progression. Look at the intermediate classifications then going into this one. Of course, Kalesia is at the front, who we've not really spoken about a great deal in this one. Has got 150 points to his name. Dalanaman, who we saw, of course, take the win earlier on, only having that 1 second place finish. That keeps him second in the points with 144. He will need Kalesia to finish P2 at some point today or worse to really help him out in the points. Malota currently third in the points from Baglin. Blanco from Waltz. Babacek at the moment is doing a good job with 109 points. He's inside that top 8. Juan Garcia rounding out the top 8. Despite the fact that he's not in this race anymore, he is broken away. This is the moment earlier on, Olivier Cini being squeezed onto the outside line there. The beautiful driving and controlled moments from them all the way throughout. Just that Forza Racing machine heading down the inside. Ahmed Sabarov in the early stages, really showcasing some good little battles here. All of these drivers are up places in that race. Of course, that would have been helped out by drivers missing right at the front end, of course. But so far, they've had a pretty solid race. For Malota, though, his last lap, I think, is going to be a little bit tense here because Giacomo Justo and Manuel Maguez have closed right in on him. This is the battle for second place, and it is quite a feisty one on this final lap.
Is indeed. They're not going to have a chance of a race win here. William Kalesia is clear and gone. Is this a look down the inside from Giacomo Justo? Yes, it is. Has he gone too quick through the corner? Is Malota going to have a chance back down the inside into turn 13? Yes, he is indeed. Manuel Maguez still in this battle as well, looking to pick up the pieces. He's down the inside of Justo through turn 15. It's going to be another win for William Kalesia. 3 in a row for the Australian. 150 points on the board already. Malota holds on for second place. That's third, and second now for Hageman Racing. Very good stuff indeed. Manuel Maguez, my star of the race in that one. Anthony, up 8 places into the top 3.
Yep, that's a solid drive there, but I'm going to give some recognition to Alex Malota for the Hageman Racing team on that one. That little defensive posture in towards turn 12 and 13, really, really clever there. Opened up the door massively, looking like, oh, he's just giving away the position. What's he doing? Sweeps it back through on the inside, and then he had the inside into this corner here, the banking. This is where it gets really tough, and if you've got the inside line there, you're pretty solid. And it actually put Justo under pressure from Maguez. So, you know, it just showcases that that's a really good defensive line. It's allowing them to go down the inside of turn 12. There's a look at your full results then. The top 10 we've gone over. Orlando finishing in P11 from Olivier Cini. Gustavo De Silva finishing in 13th place from Ahmed Sabarov. Jarkat Troja, good race there. 7th place gain on those fresh tyres up into the top 15 ahead of Igor Padotti. Emiliano Hernandez and Angelina Simmons. Strong finish for her as well with a 5th-place gain. Roland Nagy, Cocchianello rounding out the top 20. Diaz de la Vega, Kumpin from Kolovos, good run there. 6 places up into 23rd from Farfus, Baguti, and Vishamirska, who round out the 26 finishers. Gilles Herman was a retirement, unfortunately, in the dying stages. Lillian Scarborough the same. Juan Garciase and Asha Oshtein, drama for them out of the race in the opening stages.
Yeah, a bit of a setback there for both Garciase and Oshtein in their battles within the intermediate points. For William Kalesia, though, he now knows that he will lead in the junior category at the end of round 3. And the difference this time is he has a clear gap now over the rest of the field. He's not sharing that lead with anybody else. Let's look through the highlights then for that last race in OK Junior. This was the race start. I've got to say, I'm very impressed with the race starts from all of our categories here today, keeping it nice and clean through those first couple of corners. Turn 5 would be the scene of a few incidents in this race. Running wide towards the back of the field was the number 41 kart in the middle of the pack there. That was the moment between Garciase and Oshtein that put both of them ultimately out of the race. Oshtein attempting a restart after the first lap. That's the reason why they are under investigation. Garciase also, should note, is under investigation from the notifications that we've seen on our screens. Into the middle phase of the race, moves down the inside. A nice one there from Giacomo Giusto past Alexander Lazarus for a spot in the top 5. Impressive run again from Manuel Miguez. That was his move past the Bulgarian into turn 12. Out of the race, as we say, would be Oshtein and Garciase. They're both electing to save their materials for later on today. Side by side between Sabarov and Cini, right in the middle of the pack. Good racing between the two of them in and through turn 5, Anthony.
Yeah, indeed. Nice little fights that we're having here. You can see a lot of them running wide on that corner. They're using that exit curve. They have been told they can use that, the exit of post number 4. They've waved that one off. Everywhere else there is still limits on the track. But for these drivers here, really utilising that one and actually getting quite a few moments down the inside. This, again, beautiful under braking there down the inside at turn number 13 from Olivier Adesini, sideways under braking. The same can be said for Will Green. Beautiful little sends, and again, showcasing that banking can provide some good overtakes. Across the line, though, was your man here at the front, William Kalesia, 3 out of 3. I mean, can't fault him so far. He's looking really, really strong, is the Australian. Looking forward to seeing what he can do later on this weekend. Well, cleanup operation is underway. Again, great work from the marshalling team with what I can only describe as the longest recovery trailer I think I've ever seen in my karting career here.
Yeah, it's a good piece of kit here at this pretty brand new circuit in Italy. Next up on our schedule, it's back to the seniors. It's groups C and E, 27 drivers ready to go racing here at Viterbo, looking to get some more points on the board.
Yes, indeed. And it starts with Din TQ. Here's what he had to say. Qualifying is all done for the seniors Group 3 and fastest in group, Christian Costoya. Congratulations, well done. How was the track feeling for you out there?
I think it was a very good lap. Maybe we are missing a bit on the pace, but I think if we're just starting in the front there in the hits, everything is possible. And yeah, let's see how we go in the hits, because it's also important by the managing of this track. And yeah, let's see how it goes. Your pace was quick in Spain. It was fantastic in Portugal. Here in Italy, it's matching it as well. You seem to be loving all of these circuits this season. What's your secret? I don't know. Maybe this tires goes good with our setup, but I think anyway we improve a lot this year, and yeah, it goes good. Excellent. Well, it's a fabulous time for you. We look forward to those qualifying heats, and we'll see you fighting at the sharp end, I'm sure. Congratulations. Well done. Thank you.
Christian Costoya there.
Yeah, fighting at the sharp end, understatement, I think, for him, because he's been winning everything. So, yeah, all good one for him. Peschel on the front row of the grid as well. Jindra Peschel, really strong performance from him as well. Race win and a second place, really high up in those points. Again, looking forward to seeing what he can do. The driver from Czechia has delivered the results after a pretty decent qualifying for him as well.
We've missed the real Yuri Peschel so far this year, haven't we, mate? He's back on form, back to the kind of standards in terms of race results that we saw through quite a lot of 2024, particularly in this championship. It's taken him a bit of time to get in tune, I think, with the Works Tony Kart chassis. But yeah, it's properly on form now. First and second yesterday, and another chance here for more points from that front row of the grid.
Yeah, indeed. Engines fire up then. Drivers make their way out onto the circuit. Let's take you through the full starting lineup there. That's a nice T-shirt there. Sure, Davide Correa watching along if he sees that one. Right, let's see what this is going to happen then for the drivers. It is Christian Kostoya and Jindra Peschel. Row number 1. Keep a close eye on them as they fight for victory in this one. Thomas Bradier will be backing up his teammate on the second row of the grid. They'll be joined, though, by Chiara Batig, who delivered a great run in timed qualifying and a brand new set of tyres as well to boot on the left-hand side. Row number 3 sees Boris Lysen, who needs a good one in this one. A DNF yesterday in his second race puts him on the back foot. We'll have Daniel Keller alongside both of them as well. Fresh set of tyres on the left-hand side. But Viev, similar story for him. Both of them involved in a lap 1 incident at turn number 2. He also came away with a 5-second time penalty. He needs a good one in this one. He'll have Roman Kamya for company. Zach Drummond and Oliver Rasmussen, who also got caught out yesterday in Heat 2, started on row number 5. Zach Green and Fostauanado go from row 6 in the first half of the field. Hopefully we'll see Karl Lutthard, who had a drama yesterday, can confirm he is fighting fit. The German will race with Louis Cochet alongside.
Vegard Clementson and Paul Andriotis are next up on row number 8. Jon Helder and Hugo Marti are on row 9. Efim Durinov and Bo Lorette race from row number 10. It's then Vilma Svan and Francois Cadal on row 11. Eloy Gonzalez and Maximilian Rafalik, they're on row 12. They're ahead of Marcus Shulkunas and Sunyi Bay on row 13. Rahim Alilai completes the 27 runners in this one. This is groups C and E in the OK category, getting ready for their third heat.
Indeed. Well, tension starting to build for these drivers because, like you say, when we get to that lunch break moment there later on, which we're not that far away from, only a few heats to go before that, that's where it gets into the nitty-gritty. That's where the heats really start to focus on. The overtakes need to come in. The gains needs to happen. But let's just see what happens because we've still got a long way until we get to that one. Last few checks being made there for the drivers. Oliver Rasmussen just pulling into position there. Kostoya all on his own at the front row. You can see Peschel hanging back just a little bit. He wants to get on that power nice and early. Are we going racing? Yes, we are. Down in towards turn number 1. And keep an eye on Peschel on the outside line. Can he carry the speed through? The answer is no. And Bradier will fire down the inside, but it's Chiara Batig who's had the run there. Look at Chiara Batig from P4. She is up into second place. That is a solid start as drama is kicked off in the background. They have all tumbled down the order, and some drivers really having a bad start there.
I think one of the Forzas involved towards the back of the field there. Big race now this for Chiara Batig, because Batig has deployed a new half set of tyres. So has Danny Kelleher. And is that Kelleher down the inside? Yes, it is. Kelleher up to third place. This is going to be a bit of pressure now for the race leader because there's now 2 drivers immediately behind with fresher Maxxis Prime tyres. We already seen Noah Wolf make the new tyres work and convert it through to a race victory. What are we going to see here? Meanwhile, down the straight, oh, that's an aggressive move there. I think that was between Roman Kamyan for Ricky Flynn and Dmitry Matveev for Karts Republic. All of a sudden, it's turned up a couple of notches here in Italy.
It certainly has, as the air temperature increasing as well to 24 degrees. It's heating up everything out there, including the action on circuit. But like we're saying, as they head through, it's been a good start for those front rows. Efim Durinov has had a tricky one on that one. He's just tumbled down 6 places, now into 25th place. A Kanker report as well. The driver right at the beginning of that one, Francois Cadal, is out of the race. That was the DPK machine we saw with a hefty amount of damage on the front end of that car. Crucially, though, at the front of this one, Kostoya is in the lead, but is under pressure from Chiara Batig. Vegard Clementson and Bo Lorette, I think, have also had a coming together on that circuit. They have just tumbled down to the back of the grid as well. And I can see one car is stricken on the track with the driver, I think, trying to push it into a safe spot.
I think it might be Vegard Clementson, and it's a black and white kart out there in the distance, which would indicate that it's a Victory Lane karting machine. Clementson has fallen down the order, as has Bo Lorette for the Paralim Works team. Zach Drummond, new fastest lap of the race, a 52.72 2-1. There is Boris Lysen in the red and white KRZ motorsport machine, the all Polish squad. He's had a solid weekend so far. He's trying to hold off Yuri Peschel at the moment for 4th place. Here's a move. Drummond down the inside of the 223 of Thomas Pradir. Good move from the Scotsman, continuing to impress in this season, this new season with Fusion Motorsport.
So, well, keep a close eye on that fight as eyes here. Well, Daniel Keller, who is also piling on that pressure, brand new set of tires on the left-hand side, now closing in on Chiara Batig, so we could have a little bit of a fight on our hands here, Andrew, in that top section, as Matviev still all over the rear bumper of Thomas Pradir. Make that side by side with him, make that in front of him as he's got that move done down into towards turn number 5.
You're absolutely right that we could see a battle between Batig and Kelleher here, but I wonder if they're better just trying to work together or work together in an extra fashion to try and close Kostoya down, at least for the next lap or so. Here is another move. It's Drummond again, down the inside into turn 12. That's him up to 5th place now, past Peschel.
Well, there's going to be the change. Keller's got through on Batig and is going to try and hunt down. And I know you were saying about potentially working together. The problem is that this is a driver circuit. There are no real slipstream opportunities for these drivers. The straights are too short for that. They don't get up to a high enough speed down into it. I mean, the seniors, when they cross over the beam right at the beginning, you know, they're maxing out at around 115 kilometers an hour. It's not that fast around some of these circuits. Don't get me wrong, it's still fast. I mean, the speed limit on the roads around here are 120 kilometers an hour as Matviev sends it down the inside of Peschel and gets through up into 6th place. But yeah, like I was saying, still fast speeds for short circuit racing, but compare that to, you know, like to Campillos and Kristianstad, and, you know, when we were there in Portimao as well, they're topping out around 140 kilometers an hour, so it's a little bit slower here. Down the inside, nice change for Thomas Pradir, both of them getting past Yuri Peschel. Unfortunate one here for Peschel. This will be his worst result he's had so far this weekend. That was a nice send down the inside as well. Louis Cochet on the charge, getting past the likes of Pascal and Zach Green as well.
And Louis Cochet nicely getting on with things. Noted yesterday that Cochet was able to move from the 7th row grid in 14th place, I should say, and both times make it up into the top 10 by the end of the 12 laps. Chiara Batig, race isn't quite going her way at the moment, and now having to fend off Boris Lysen for this 3rd place. So the call from Danny Kelleher to go for the move for 2nd place, absolutely the right one. And Kelleher is starting to make some impressions perhaps on Kostoya. It's very evenly matched between those two. Lysen has a think about it. See the banking, the slight contour of the land there. Oh, to be fair, Boris Lysen is also on new tyres as well, so this is a fairly even battle on the Maxxis Prime tyres. Investigation notice you just saw there, that was for Bo Lorette. Bo is out of this race, so that's not going to affect things dramatically in the running order of this race. We're on lap 7, 5.5 laps to go.
Indeed, so keep a close eye on this one. Lysen all over that rear bumper, just looking for any tells that Chiara Batig may give on the lap. But showcasing some very strong performance for these two drivers. Matviev now with the fastest lap of the race as well, as you see there. Elo Gonzalez, biggest mover out on circuit. 13th place gain for Elo Gonzalez, who's now just inside the top 10. That's an astonishing performance.
Yeah, Eloy's really the trend breaker so far this weekend. Took advantage of some difficulties for others in the 2nd round of heats. You're not often going to see drivers getting into double figures of positions gained in these heats, but as I say, Eloy Gonzalez is going, well, that could be wrong for everybody else. I'm going to take 13 positions, at least in this particular round. Here's a move from Lysen, down the inside of Batig. Side by side as well, wants to get off of the corner. Nicely worked move there from Boris Lysen. Had to be patient, had to wait his turn. Got a nice move down the inside of turn 5, and then got it finished by the time they were through turn 6.
Indeed, and while that's happening, Matviev has just got past the likes of Zach Drummond as well. So Drummond now down another place. Here's that overtake again. Again, beautifully lined up, confident under braking. You can see it's a little bumpy there into that final into turn number 5. Managed to get it planted though. Beautiful little track positioning from both the drivers and managing to push their way through. Like we were saying, yeah, Matviev has got himself up into 5th place now as well at the expense of Zach Drummond. who now slots into P6. They are still looking to fight through this order. Kostoya and Keller, what is the gap? 1.2 seconds despite the fresh tyres. Kostoya has just got a rhythm here that no one can seem to shatter.
Yeah, this is a really impressive run from Christian Kostoya, that he's able to not just keep in the lead of this race, but be managing that gap at 1.2 seconds. He enters the round third in the point standings. But with the situation for Martinez and Turney, they both, you know, are starting their heats around row 6, row 7. They're on a bit of a damage limitation job through the rest of today to make sure that they go long into the weekend. Kostoya, meanwhile, is pumping in these performances, getting more points, intermediate points on the board. If he keeps this form going, he's going to take a huge chunk of points out of Turney's lead. The deficit was 26 at the start of the weekend, and remember, it's 25 championship points for the driver who's top of the intermediate classification at the end of 5 rounds of qualifying. It's the top 15 who score. So again, if we see Martinez and Turney outside that top 15 and Kostoya getting a full complement of 25, we're going to be looking at a very, very close title picture at the midway points of the season.
Well, we certainly will do, and that's why we like these little circuits, that they just sneak in over the course of the season where, you know, it makes it a real change. Here's Matviev again, big send there down the inside. That's a committed overtake there, not wanting to waste any time. Good stuff again, though, from Kirabatik, not falling foul to it and just giving that space down the inside, not wanting any drama. As again, she's still in a really strong position here, inside the top 6 in the points.
Yeah, and good points throughout the course of the race meeting so far. If Chiara can keep it there, it's going to be a trio of top 5s from the first 3 rounds of this competition. We're on the 11th lap of this race. This is the penultimate tour of the circuit here at Viterbo. Kostoya still your race leader by 1.3 seconds. I think that's going to be a bit much for Daniel Kelleher to close in. The Irishman is still in a good position. This would be a haul of 44 intermediate points if things stay this way. Eloy Gonzalez continuing to progress up through the order. Antoni's up to P9. Meanwhile, we have a look at the battle running here through turns 13 and 14, the parallel in the MP machine.
Yeah, Hugo Marti, Karl Luthard and Jorn Helder. Good to see. Obviously, Karl Luthard not phased from his accident yesterday. He was also caught out in that incident, turn number 1. But again, focused on today and feeling fighting fit. There, though, Kostoya at the front. Once again, unbeatable so far this weekend, as he just needs to focus on bringing that parallel machine to the end of this one. We thought it was a home field advantage in Campos, being in Spain, his home country, he had that. But then we went to Portugal to the Portimao circuit, delivered some relatively decent results there. And now we come here to Italy, so far, absolutely unbeaten.
He's been a tremendous driver so far in 2025, and Christian Kostoya wins 3 from 3. So like we saw from Kalesia in the juniors, we have a driver who is perfect through 3 rounds. Very good race management again there from Christian Kostoya. Should mention, you mentioned the issue for Karl Luthard yesterday. That has just reminded me, I think Kostoya's using this quite nicely, that anyone who started on the pole side of the grid, yes, have done 2 races, but one of those races ran under full course yellow and slow procedure for a long time. So maybe not quite as much tyre degradation and wear that you would expect over the heats as with others. So Kostoya using that situation to hold off those drivers on the newer rubber on the opposite side of the grid. Either way, 150 points from a possible 150. A very good start for Kostoya. Kelleher second in that one. Leisen, Matviev and Batig all in the top 5. Drummond, Pradea, Peschel, Gonzalez and Kamyab all in the top 10. Another cracking drive from Eloy Gonzalez, up 14 places in that one. Fausto Arnaldo, Zach Green, Louis Cachet and Oliver Rasmussen all in the top 15, completed by Maxi Rapalik. Vilma Svan, Hugo Marti, Karl Luthard, Jorn Helder and Marcus Schulkunas take us down to 20th place. Last of the finishers, P21 for Paul Andriotis, Efim Durinov, Rahim Alibai and Sunny Bay. 3 retirements in that race. Bo Louette, Vagon Clementson and Francois Cadal.
Indeed, not the run they would have wanted, and there is the driver from Norway, Victory Lane Karting, Vegard Clemenson, just overlooking his kart. There, though, Christian Kostoya, not afraid to get his hands dirty in the Park Ferme area or out on track. That is another victory for him. Celebrations all round for the Paralympic team as they head back to the paddock. They will think, what can we do later on today? Here's a look how it all transpired, the start of the race. Keep an eye on Peschel on the outside line. The start here initially had a good run, but it was Chiara Battigue who managed to just squeeze across the front of Thomas Bradier and got up into second place. An absolutely perfect start for her on the fight for the race lead.
Yeah, a very shrewd start from Grid 4 there. There was a few of the incidents towards the back of the field and drivers who had problems early on in eventual retirements for Francois Cadal in the 236, Vegard Clemenson in the 278 and Beau Lorette in the 276. Meanwhile, back at the front of the field, Boris Leisen, good move there down the inside of the 223 of Thomas Pradier. Leisen in the end would come home in third place. Good run as well there for Zach Drummond, I thought, Anthony. A number of good moves. He particularly seems to like turn 12.
Oh, yeah. A lot of drivers are liking turn 12, but it's understandable. 170 metres straight into a braking zone of a hairpin usually screams, send it down the inside of me there. But, yeah, we have seen the overtakes there. But some of them have just not worked out. I mean, you see Drummond going for the moves there as well, but a lot of them have been able to get it on the exit of them as well. The same for turn 13. When I did a track walk, I think, oh, the banking, they're going to carry so much speed through it. Surely not, they could overtake here. But they have been. It's actually been quite a popular one for them.
Well, with that slight banking, the normal racing line means you have apex quite late, which means that there can be an opportunity, like Kelleher showed there, to just almost do a bit of a block pass on the inside. This was Leisen down the inside of Battigue. I liked this move as well, just the calm control from Boris Leisen, knowing that he would need to use the positioning into turn 6 to get that one done. Matviev there would go through past Battigue on his way to 4th place.
Indeed, a strong finish though for Christian Kostoya, holding firm at the front of the field as he gets himself ready for his next race later on today. He is looking forward to seeing what he can do, I am sure. Back over to the juniors, however, and they'll be heading out onto the circuit groups A versus D. We've got reports of tyres, of course, and some drivers actually missing from the grid on this one, so we'll keep an eye on that one. But it is qualifying heat A versus D that is heading out onto the circuit next, as we see what will happen in this next race with 30 drivers heading out onto the circuit, all starting with Iskender Sulfakari on pole position. Lovely view of the local towns here in Viterbo. Beautiful part of Italy here, only about an hour and a half north of the capital city of Roma. And we look forward to, of course, of this weekend. I'm hopefully going to go for a visit to Rome this weekend.
It's a beautiful country, isn't it?
It is.
Italy. It's great to be back here once again. Big thanks once again to the hard-working track workers on the recovery truck there. There is Iskender Sulfikari on your screens. Interesting day for Sulfikari. Fastest through time qualifying. Tremendous lap in TQ. Here's what he thought of it after that TQ session.
Iskender Sulfikari, top driver in Group 1 for OK Junior. A really good lap. Sub 53 seconds. You must be very pleased.
I mean, throughout the weekend we have been hard working with the engineers, with the Forza team. Thanks to Mashak and thanks to Forza team, we've been hard working. We got every single detail together, and the result.
As you mentioned, for Forza Racing, this is a repeat of what we saw in Portimao. Very strong in qualifying. What do you think is giving you the edge, the performance over the other teams?
I can't really say anything about that, but like we hard work every time. The team, we're fast. With the Mashak motors, we're fast. So just when we put everything together, just P1.
And how happy are you to have pole position here, particularly as some drivers think it could be quite tough to overtake at this circuit?
At this circuit, it's like a really tight circuit, so it's kind of hard to overtake. That's why pole position is really, really big advantage, especially in the start. You just pull away. We'll see if I'm pole, but honestly, sub-zero is kind of fast.
Good stuff, Iskender. Well, best of luck for the races.
Thank you so much.
And he would remain on pole position across the 3 timed qualifying groups in the junior category. The races didn't go completely his way, though. It could have been 2 race victories for Iskender Sulfikari, but then a DNF in the second round of heats means that Sulfikari is a little bit further down the intermediate points standing, Anthony, than perhaps he would have hoped.
Yes, but it's only one bad result so far. A good result here puts him right back where he wants to be. He'll be at the sharp end. It's not the end of the world for him. So he's still got a very good positioning here as he congratulates his mechanic there. His last few words of encouragement as they will head out onto the circuit. Other drivers who I want to keep note on in this one, Sebastian Eskandari of Australia. P2 in his second race yesterday from the 3rd row of the grid is going to be one to watch.
Super overtaking as well from the Aussie. So, yeah, fully second that one. The drivers are rolling out onto the track for their 2 formation laps. Let's take you through the order then for groups A and D for their 3rd qualifying heats here in Viterbo. On pole position, it's Iskender Sulfikari in kart number 69. Alongside him on the front row is Eli Christian. Christian 4th in the championship points ahead of this weekend. On row 2, we find the championship leader. Henry Domain is there, the second of the Forzas. He's joined by Julian Frasnelli on that row. Sebastian Eskandari Morandi on row 3 is joined by Evan Purcell. It's then Leonardo Gorski and Just Mulder on row number 4. Completing the top 10, it's Gian-Matteo Russo and Benjamin Maniac. That's row 5. Daniel Mirandorente and Jesse Phillips go from row 6. Valerio Villapiana and Mark Pilipenko starts on row 7. Completing the first half of the grid, we should say, is Alessandro Truchot and Lucas Sell.
Row number 9 sees Jarlath Sayer and Tony Casciafero. A lot of work needs to be done from there. What can they do? Sevalod and Sanchez Sadlowski, they go from row 10 with Priya Brunova Company alongside. Samuel Hugon and Eni Bazuzzo on row 11. They'll have Nicola Stanley and Dia Islami on row 12. They'll have Nathan Kappin and Case Aziza on row 13. Mika Runitz and Remy Samchek round out row 14. With Michael Zajak and Felipe Sanchez on row 15. Mohamed El-Bazaki rounds out the 31 cut field on row 16, shotgun at the back. 2 deployments of tyres in this one, Andrew. It comes from row 6 and row 7. Phillips and Pilipenko are going to be ones to watch.
Yes, indeed. No one can take the intermediate points lead from Kalesia in this race. No one's within 50 points of the Australian, but still, this is an important one, especially for the likes of Sulfikari and Domain, to keep this good form for the Forza Racing team going. There's Dan Ashton and the controls to get this race started. They will form up into the 2x2 formation shortly. They've already gone past the red cones and the red line indicating no more moving up and down the rows for this race start. All 31 drivers, are not present because we've not got Remy Samchik in this race, so we've got a field of 30 ready to go for this one. Through the tram lines, looking at those lights, do they go out? Yes, we are racing in OK Junior for 10 laps here at Viterbo. Good start for the Forzas in the front of the field. Oh, good hustle from Chris, but the door gets slammed in his face there by Henry Domain. For Iskender Sulfikari, it is the best possible start from pole position. It's a Forza 1-2 with championship leader Domain, and there's a lot kicking off in the second half of the field.
And it's gone pandemonium and into the barriers there. That's absolute disaster for the 83 machine. VDK Case Aziza goes no further in this race, and that is heavy damage there as well for the number 53 Cut Republic Motorsport machine of Enia Pizzuto, also with a heavy amount of damage. And I could see that somewhat unfolding because I saw an energy course down the inside. I think it may have been Jarlath Sayer who went for a big lunge into turn number 5. It was a clean move, but it just meant there were 3-4 wide going into that next corner.
Indeed, bit of dust being kicked up there by the MP kart racing machine of Leonardo Gorski. It's Sulfikari from Domain, Frasnelli, Krisan, Eskandari, Morandi and Gorski. That's the top 6 at the end of lap 1. Down the inside goes Eli Christian. Good move there on Julian Frasnelli. Tough day yesterday for Frasnelli. 11th and 15th, the results for the Italian through the first couple of rounds, but has still got a good chance here of making it through not only to the superheats. Remember, it's top 72 from the 91 entry who go through, as there out of the race is Mika Rönitz, and the number 20 for MP Kart Racing. So Rönitz will go no further. Into turn 13, Frasnelli's lost out on another position there. It looks like Sebastian Eskandari Morandi has come through in the black and yellow suit there, racing, of course, for Ward Racing. And it's kicking off in the midfield there. Jarlath Sayer on the outside, losing a couple of spots in the Energy Course 103.
Yeah, indeed. The train going through there, and the former Priam Bruno and the likes of Samuel Hugon pushing their way through in that middle section of the lap. Big defensive posture there to the inside from Frasnelli. Gorski not able to find the way through just yet. Purcell, Mulder and Daniel Miron all there behind, vying to try and get past as Pilapenko sets the fastest lap of the race. We mentioned him earlier on with a fresh set of boots on board. He's there currently in 13th place behind Jesse Phillips there at the back of this pack.
Oh, indeed. There's a little bit of a look there from the RFM machine of Evan Purcell. Evan, who's changed teams in the middle part of this season, running on the LN, the Lando Norris chassis, another member of the OTK family. There's a little look from Daniel Miron Lorente in the number 40. That was on Just Mulder in the battle over 8th place. End of lap 3. Zulfikari leading by 0.6 of a second. Will have a small tyre advantage over his teammate, of course, due to the DNF that he suffered in the second round of heats. He'll have turned less racing laps on his Maxxis option tyres. A little bit further back in the field. This is your fight for third place between Chrisen and Eskandari Morandi.
And like I say, Eskandari yesterday had really good races where he was able to climb through. He had that P2, so he's certainly one who knows how to get a wheel alongside here to get those moves done. But right now, just sticking right behind the likes of Ili Christian. The two of them both on the Tony Kart machines, but one with Ward Racing, one with the factory team. As they head out, and that was a first attempt there from Eskandari down in towards turn 14, but not close enough this time.
No, not on this occasion.
On track now, kart number 89. Can you just check his left-hand rear bumper, please?
That's Tony Cacciafiero, who's currently 20th in the field for Victory Lane Karting. So yeah, that was a note from Dan Ashton just to check that everything is positioned correctly with the rear bumper for the driver flying the flag for Andorra. We're getting towards the second half of the race. I think we've got an answer, by the way, on the number 89, because you can see the mechanical flag is out on the Digi flag over the gantry. Here's a move. This is Gorski and Purcell and Mulder all having a good old scrap. This is over 6th place. Good move there from Daniel Miron Lorente down the inside of Evan Purcell. Nice work from the driver of the number 40 up to P8.
Yeah, that was just a case of positioning the kart in just the right moment and in just the right place to file your way through. It is a bit of a dance around that final sector, isn't it? Like you say, up the banking, positive camber. Then you go into 14 of negative camber. Then you can find a way through two like near flat out right-handers with not a lot of runoff on the exit of them as well. And they're right to the edge of the track. It's when you watch them go through, you see they use all the circuit and just that little bit more to their advantage. Eyes at the front here. Domain is under pressure a little bit now from Ili Christian, who's closing in. The Canadian all over the rear bumper of the Forza Racing driver, who is currently there in second place.
Just having a quick look out of the window at what the problem is with Cacciafiero. It's the left-hand side of the bumper, the little vanity panel, the one that's got the coloured tape on it. That is very askew and nearly rubbing on the tyre. So Cacciafiero has now seen the mechanical flag, so needs to come in. He'll have 3 laps to do so before that goes up to a black flag. That's a nice move. That's Christian back down the inside of Henry Domain, taking second place.
Yeah, that was beautifully done there. That I didn't even think that was going to happen on that one. It came from so far back. Brilliantly controlled driving from the two of them. But yes, indeed, that for Christian is a tasty little overtake. crucially, I don't think they lost too much time with that one. However, Sebastian Eskandari is right there now on that rear bumper of Domain. So he's just had one factory Tony Kart go through. He's got a satellite Tony Kart behind him now in the form of Ward Racing. Sebastian Eskandari piling on that pressure. Over the start-finish line they go. We go on to lap number 8 of this race, and it is still Zulfikari who's in a really good position here, and he is still inside those points, but he is at this moment dropping back in those points at the moment. But Zulfikari is going to be the one to watch here as he's looking for his second race win of the weekend.
A second race win and a result that would get him back into play in the intermediate classification at the end of this round. As there is Tony Casafero. So it's on the far side of that shot, the problem that's brought the mechanical flag out for Victory Lane Karting on that machine. Looking into the battle for 5th place, Leonardo Gorski trying to find a way past Julian Frasnelli. It's not done here as well, just ahead of them. Eskandari Morandi starting to put championship leader Henry Domain under a bit of pressure.
Indeed, and you can see that pressure because he's dipping in behind the steering wheel now. He's pushing himself along as hard as he can go, but right now it just seems to be just dropping back off Christen there. The pace in this early phase not, or this later stage of the race not coming into play, and again that could be all down to tyre pressures. You know, Domain was very quick at the start, so maybe they were set in a different configuration, and now he's suffering a little bit on the exit of it. Samuel Hugon, who's having a good little run, now with the fastest lap of the race, the driver of the number 87 machine, who's not inside the top 15, but is in 19th place, is down the inside. Nice little change there, pushing the moves through. That is, I think, Gorski fighting away still at that sharp end, and now Sebastian Eskandari needs to push through, and so does Julian Frasnelli, who's out on the back foot.
Yes, it is indeed. We're on to the last lap then. Skender Zulfikari, barring any problems, and repeats of what we saw yesterday in the second round of heats, is going to win this race. Just see out of our commentary box window, there has been a problem for someone in turn 13. I think it's Mo Elbazaki and Felipe Sanchez both falling down the order. Sanchez has now come over the line, but he's down in P26, so Elbazaki is out of the race. This is still not done as well. This is the fight with Frasnelli, Mulder, Miron Lorente, Purcell and Pilipenko. This is 6th down to 10th place. Meanwhile, though, Skender Zulfikari nearly got the job done here, Anthony. This has been a very good run.
It certainly has. Calm and controlled for the driver from Turkey as he makes his way out of the last couple of corners. It is Skender Zulfikari back on top where he wants to be, and that is a superb drive for him. Christian finishes in 2nd place, and Henry Domain crosses in 3rd. No change in their positions, but a fight still to the end for those two. Sebastian Eskandari, solid race there to finish in P4 ahead of Leonardo Gorski. Frasnelli finishing in P6 ahead of Jos Mulder. Daniel Miron Lorente with a 3-place gain into P8 from Evan Purcell. Mark Pilipenko with a gain of 4 on those fresh tyres finishes in P10. Well, they will make their way back into Parc Ferme. And for Zulfikari there, Andrew, that is exactly what he wanted. The drama from yesterday's race with the mechanical gremlins now have been washed away with some victories.
I think the pace is the most impressive bit for me, Anthony, because if it wasn't for that mechanical failure in round 2, we would be seeing 2 drivers on 150 points at this stage. We're not, of course, and for Zulfikari, the job now is continue this form through round 4, through round 5. He keeps winning like this, he will be at the pointy end of the grid for the super heats tomorrow morning, and then you can further build from there. The drivers head on in to Parc Ferme. They'll go across the weighbridge, of course, and towards the technical team. There's your provisional classification: Zulfikari, Christen, Domain, Eskandari, Morandi, Gorski, Frasnelli, Mulder, Llorente, Purcell and Pilipenko all in the top 10. Jesse Phillips, Gianmatteo Russo, Benjamin Maniac, Valerio Villapiana and Lucas Sell take us down to 15th place. Priam Bruno, Alessandro Truchot, Jarlath Sayer, Samuel Hugon and Nathan Kappen all record top 20s. Nicholas Stanley, Dr Islami, Mikhail Sayak, Ania Pazzuto and Sevolod Osachi Zaslovsky all will have things to think about before round number 4. Felipe Sanchez was the last of the finishers. Retirements in that one: Mo Elbazaki, Tony Cacciafero, Case Aziza, Mika Runitz, and one driver who did not start the race being Remy Samchik.
Indeed. Well, celebrations all around for the Forza team, and Iskender Sofakari will get that debrief sorted as that team will head back to the paddock to get themselves primed and ready for the races later on today. For their classes, groups A and D, of course, will be racing together once more, but they will be racing again later today in other groups. Here's how it all transpired. The run down in towards turn number 1. Initially, great start from the front row. Keep an eye on Chrisen, though, able to fight back. It was Domain who got the early run, though. He would push himself forward. Drama at the beginning of it. Mika Runitz, Case Aziza having drama, and it was Case Aziza hard into the wall there at turn 6, the first of the retirements. Not sure what happened to the MP racing machine, if he was involved in that same incident, but yes, his cart also stricken at the same part of the circuit.
A real shame for those drivers out on lap 1. Meanwhile, back at the front of the order, things were going well for Sulfikari. Mika Runitz taking a bit of a rest there in the Marshall post with company from Case Aziza. This was the fight involving the Powlin number 31, flying 81 rather, flying through the order. Lots going on in turns 13 and 14 as well. We're starting to see more and more overtaking through that part of the course. That was Evan Purcell going side by side with Daniel Miron Lorente, who's impressing me this weekend, Anthony. One of the younger drivers in the OK Junior category. It doesn't seem that long ago since I was seeing Daniel racing in the much younger formulas of karting, but a good drive up 3 places to 8th.
It is a shock to our system a little bit when we turn up to race weekends and we think, hold on, you were a mini
You were
last
6
week.
years old.
Yeah. What are you doing here? But yeah, no, brilliant racing from these drivers. And we're seeing that little trend within this order as well. You see these micro battles happen down the field, these tough little overtakes happening in around, the 5th, 4th place, 10 places out there. But there's been no dramatically large movers in these races. It's only been a case of maximum 5 or so is the consistent one, and for some drivers it's been a very consistent race where they're not gaining or losing any places, such as your top 3 in that one, Sulfikari, Chrisen and Domain. 1, 2, 3 over the line. It's another lights to flag finish. Well, that's the juniors done for the time being in groups A and D. We will see them out later on in their respective heats. We'll turn our attention over to the senior category now as qualifying heat A versus D heads out on track for them as the recovery operation still underway for the retirements in that previous race. And it starts with the man who, well, honestly, I didn't expect to see fighting right at the sharp end, not because of talent, because of injury. Sported a horrible broken arm in previous races. Has fought back brilliantly. Scott Marsh not only put it on pole position, but also has taken 2 qualifying heat wins as well. He's been the driver to really watch and the one to try and beat over this weekend.
Has looked better than ever, as Scott Marsh had that broken wrist at Portimao, but has bounced back brilliantly. Fastest driver in timed qualifying earlier on in the weekend. So far this weekend, 2 race victories for Scott Marsh and a chance here to go back to the top of the intermediates classification in this race. Let's have a catch up with Scott from yesterday.
At the end of the first qualifying group then for the Champions of the Future, round 3 here at the Viterbo circuit. Scott Marsh, fastest in group. Scott, congratulations. This is a surprise, I think, for many. After that injury that you had in Portimao, you're fighting back very strong here. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me a couple of weeks ago where would I be on pole here, I wouldn't have said so, but over the moon, that's cool.
Talk us about the track. How is it out there? A lot of drivers saying it's a tricky circuit to get to grips of. You've certainly got the pace of it now. Are you looking forward to those races?
It's really hard to overtake around here, so to start at the front is definitely going to help.
Yeah. Talk us about so far the season, obviously the ups and downs, but back on fighting form. Are you ready to take this weekend head on?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Excellent. Congratulations, Scott. We'll see you out there for those races.
Thank you.
Good to hear from Scott Marsh there. For challengers in this race, he's got Marco Gast on the opposite side of row number 1. Bit of a tricky day for the Dane yesterday, and Koski Motorsport after a strong qualifying, 12th and 7th across the 2 rounds of heats for Marco Gast. But I'm sure the team have been looking over what went right, what didn't quite go so right yesterday to build across the course of these 3 rounds of heats. Today, I'll be in the 296 karts. The first job will be trying to get a good run round the outside of turn 1 there. Back onto the second row of the grid. Really, really good to see so far this weekend. We said it with other drivers earlier on in the day, that a driver that we've seen towards the front before, but maybe not for a little while, seems to be back in the best kind of form, Anthony, and that's Sebastiano Pavan. In the Energy Course 214 there, in the red, white and blue. The Italian 3rd and 3rd yesterday through those 2 rounds of heats.
Yeah, indeed. Again, keeping the consistency there, keeping his name up that sharp end on that Energy Course machine. Right, engines now firing up as the field makes its way out onto the circuit. Let's quickly fire you through that full starting lineup, because the talk of tyres is going to be won in this one because there's been some changes. Scott Marsh and Marco Gast start this one on row number 1. They will have Sebastiano Pavan and Filippo Sala on row number 2. Let's see what they can do. Armin Kari Osman and James Anagnostiadis are on row 3. We'll have Lewis Francis and Elliot Kaczynski on row number 4. Jacopo Martinez had a tough day yesterday, consistently staying in around that top 10. We'll have Alpak Soy for company, who had a great first race, finishing P4 from the 5th row of the grid. Peter Stiller and Roland Cooklane go from row number 6, with the first half of the field being Leo Nilsson and Gino Rocchio.
Into the second half of the field, Sky Parker and Jakub Kamenik go from row 8. Kamenik is the first driver to deploy some new tyres in this race. Half set on one side. Luke Corder and Jensen Bonetto on row 9. It's Maria Neto and Daniel Picconi on row 10. Both drivers on row 11 have gone for new tyres. It's Luna Flusha and Xiao Shi-hyun who we're going to need to keep an eye on to potentially come through the field. New tyres as well for Franciszek Strzelski, going on the opposite side though, going on the right-hand side of the kart. I think that's the first time we've seen that from any of the field today. He's joined by Jason Bralick on that 12th row of the grid. Row 13, Maximo Tobagino and Jakub Kubarajski. And then 27th on the grid, completing the order, it is for Monster K, Radek Vavra.
A very interesting deployment there on the right-hand side. I was just doing my little top and right, because obviously there are 10 right-hand corners on this one, 6 left-handers, so you can imagine it's going to be, well, it might work out for him. We'll have to wait and see.
I think the front-end setup will be important for that. Probably. If you get a good bit of grab into the corners for this race. Keep an eye on Filippo Sala as well. 3rd and 26th yesterday for Filippo Sala. Hopefully he's got his bad luck for the race meeting out of the way in that second round of heats. The drivers are into the tram lines. Eyes on those lights. Do they go out? Yes, they do. We are racing once again in OK. And it's a good start for Scott Marsh. Decent start for Marco Gast as well, who's still trying to hold around the outside. But Sebastiano Pavan's having none of that. The Italian immediately up to second place through turn 5. Are they all going to make it through? It's looking pretty neat and tidy in the second half of the field. Through 6 and 7 now, using that runoff on driver's right-hand side. It's a quick start. It's a clean start for the seniors. Anthony, Marsh is your leader heading down to turn 12.
Beautiful shot there as they head down the hill, climbing and descending 6 meters into the braking zone here as down the inside. I mentioned it earlier on, I'll mention it again. Alpak Soy has a brilliant start over the course of this weekend. Jacopo Martinez is trying to follow through as well. As you can see there, Lewis Francis is trying to just keep his kart on the circuit there. He slots it into place as they head down the start-finish straight then for the first time going through, and still wheel-to-wheel there across the line. Francis trying to battle with Peter Stiller, but not finding the way through just yet. Eyes on the front. Scott Marsh has broken away once more. That's a big send down the inside. Further back in the order, and that is Jacopo Martinez getting the move on. Lewis Francis, getting the move done. Roland Cooklane tumbling to 12th place.
A good bit of aggression there from Jacopo Martinez. He's probably starting to think about championship, and that Joe Turney's had a decent first few rounds, and Christian Castorio, of course, is at the top of the table. There is an incident double waved yellow flags through Marshall Post 3. We'll catch up with that in a moment as it's side by side between one of the Forzas and the Fusions. very tight in the midfield. Oh, lovely stuff there from Luna Flusha firing through the order. Remember, Luna is on a newer set of tyres that's trying to work her way through with the likes of Jensen Burnett was the Forza driver, Jakub Kamenik for Fusion Motorsport. That's all around 14th place on the road. Drivers out of this race, Leo Nielsen and Sky Parker were the two drivers involved at turn 5. Great work from the track workers and the marshals here at Viterbo. That incident was fully cleared by the time the field reached Marshal Post 3.
Yeah, there's a sad look at those karts there. Driverless on the runoff there at turn number 5, but bang on what you're saying. Teammates go to battle here. Alpak Soy, James Anagnosiadis switching places for 6th and 7th, and communication between the two of them. Alpak Soy saying, hey, follow me. Look, I've already gained 4 places. Let's see what we can go and do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alpak Soy driving with a lot of confidence this weekend has looked like one of the drivers who's got their eye in terms of how you gain places around this circuit. It is tricky to make your mark. It's not the kind of circuit where you can just fly it in there, get it done on the brakes, lick the stamp and all of that one. You've got to be very precise with where you position your car. Know that you're probably going to lose a bit of time in the initial overtake, but if you've got the speed, the racecraft, the race speed to then pull back up to the next kart ahead, you can be a good driver to fall behind. Here's another move. That's
Peter
one of the VTKs down the inside. Peter Stiller indeed on Elliot Kaczynski. This is all around 9th and 10th place. Kaczynski back down the inside, retakes the position through turn 13. This is going to bring Francis into play there in the 255 as well. It's Xiao Yun flying through the order. That's a really good use of the new tyres from Zhao. The man from China is up 8 positions.
Yeah, indeed, from the 11th row on the grid as well. It always makes me wince as they go through. There is another big send down the inside. Alpak Soy on Armin Kari Osman. Clean overtake there, splits the two Prema drivers apart.
And that's what I mean. That's exactly what Alp's been doing throughout the course of the weekend so far. Nice and determined, on the front foot, not getting too ragged. It's been very impressive stuff from Alpak Soy so far this weekend. Can James Anagnostiadis now do the same for 6th place? Yes, he can. Very good response there from James. Thank you very much, James. Made me look good there. That's a nice move up to P6.
Indeed, and he's pushing his way through nicely. And again, the Kaczynski still a battle, still raging on. They've swapped places once again. Francis still in tow. Luna Flusha still there as well. So we're keeping a very close eye on those moments now, as this fight here still kicking off in the field. But right now, everyone's just trying to push through. This is nice racing there from the Energy Course, pushing forward in the bottom half of the field, I think, on this one. Well, no, it's Sebastiano Pavan, sorry, on the screen, being chased by Marco Gast. So those two still pushing forward. But crucially, where is Scott Marsh? Well, he's 1.5 seconds further up the road, and for some reason, no one can seem to catch him. The pace is immense this weekend.
It's been a really impressive return from Scott Marsh. I mentioned on the Circuit PA yesterday that I caught up with his older brother Sam at an event in the UK earlier. He's been working in the oxygen tent. This was down the inside. Anagnostiadis getting through for 6th place past Aminkara Osman.
Drama for drivers out there. Zhao Zijun, one of them, out of the race and walking away from his car. We were calling how much of a strong race he was having with those fresh tyres on board, and now his car has got a lot of front-end damage on it as he walks away. This is Flusha, now past Peter Stiller and Francis. She's gained another couple of places on that one. She's on the charge here, 11 places gained also, with a fresh set of tyres on board.
This is much more like it from Luna. She did not have a good time qualifying at all yesterday, but hasn't let her head drop at all. That's another lovely move down the inside of Elliot Kaczynski and up into the top 10 now. Peter Stiller had a look at the Swedes, but the door closed there, so no run into the top 10 yet for Peter Stiller. There's a good chance here that if Luna Flusha can get some results going, 19th and 19th yesterday in the 2 rounds of heats, that we'll still see the 245 in the super heats. Big drives like this could even still pull her up into the top 36. That's the cutoff for Saturday's final. Here's another fight on your screens, and look, once again, Alpec Soy going on the attack. This is for 4th place with Filippo Sala.
Yeah, this is nice stuff here. That's a big send out of nowhere for Alpec Soy. Beautiful lunge there into turn 12. Defensive into 13, and drivers were saying, it's tricky to overtake it. Absolutely not. Alpec Soy proving them very wrong.
And I'd love to have another look at that, because that was another one, it was far back, but so clean, so poised from Alpec Soy. Didn't look ragged, he wasn't trying to wrestle the kart into the corner. Full confidence on the brakes. Credit to Prema Racing, they've clearly got that kart set up very well indeed. Back with the fight for 2nd place. Marco Gast putting Pavan under a bit of pressure. And look at it, there'll be a little bit of but hardly any opposite lock at all.
That's beautiful. That front end is absolutely dialed in. Look at it here, just darted through, turned the wheel. It did exactly what he wanted. That was a crystal clean overtake there. No drama there whatsoever, and like you say, no overlock, and great reactions as well from Sala to not really commit to the apex there.
Yeah, and I knew that it was a fair move, and that he keeps going in 5th place. Pavan trying to respond now under this pressure from Marco Gast. That was a 52.8 last time around for both of them. The chance of the race win is gone. 2.3 seconds is the advantage for Scott Marsh here. We're on lap number 10. There's a couple of investigation boards I can see out the window that are out. They're not massive ones, because one of them is a 255 of Shouty Gun, who we've seen is out of this race. The 295 of Jakub Kamenek is the other.
Indeed. I'm just looking at the intermediate classification points at the moment, and I'm seeing something that I'm liking right now. Scott Marsh and Christian Costor, both of them on 150 points, and guess what? We'll have to wait until around about 3 o'clock this afternoon for qualifying heat A versus C to see those two drivers find out who is going to be the best out of the two of them.
Yeah, it's going to be a good scrap, that, when we get into the latter rounds of these heats. End of lap 10, 2 to go. Back with your fight for 2nd place. Sebastiano Pavan, nice and consistent at the moment. It's going to take a big effort from Marco Gast to close further in.
Certainly is. Blue shirt now on that rear bumper of Armin Kariya Osman, and not going for the move just yet. He's piled on the pressure all the way throughout this. Like you say, biggest mover out there, 13th place gain. After, what we said earlier on about we've not really seen those massive gains. We've seen it once or twice here or there. But when we do see it, they certainly pushed forward pretty nicely. Peter Silla once again down the inside of Elliot Kaczynski. That fight has been raging on for quite some time. It's kept Francis in the fight as well, and it's brought the likes of Jakub Kamenek into play as well. Now rocking with the Fusion team as well, having a very strong performance here. Last lap board is out, Andrew. Eyes on the 2nd place battle here. It's looking pretty calm for the time being.
Yeah, it's going through the motions for these drivers as they are on the final tour of the circuit. Looks like Marco Gast is going to get a best result of the weekend so far, be back on track. 12th and 7th yesterday. This is going to be a top 3. Same for Pavan. This is going to be a best result through the first 3 rounds of these heats. But for Scott Marsh, this is another very impressive performance. He's just coming through turns 13 and 14 now. He's 2.5 seconds clear of this duo on your screens. Scott Marsh, 3 from 3 on return, wins again here at Viterbo and goes back to the top of the intermediate standings. He is one of 2 drivers perfect through 3 rounds. Marsh, of course, at the moment takes that tiebreaker, virtue of him being a little bit quicker than Christian Kostoya in timed qualifying yesterday. But what a performance from Scott Marsh. What a turnaround. He's got on board now with the DPK, KR and FA branded karts after a slower start. This is Scott Marsh back to his best, like we saw towards the end of the 2024 Champions of the Future season when he had that great result at PF International. And the big job now is he takes on Christian Kostoya later on this afternoon to see who will emerge on top. There is your provisional results from A versus D. Marsh from Pavan, Gast, Aksoy and Sala all in the top 5. Good drive from James Anagnostiadis, P6. Amankara Osman ahead of a super run for Luna Flusha using those new tyres, gaining a lot of positions to P8. Jacopo Martinezzi and Peter Stiller completing the top 10. Elliot Kaczynski, Jakub Kamenik, Lewis Francis, Maria Neto and Jensen Burnett all in the top 15. Gino Rocchio, Jason Braddock, Roland Kaklane, Luke Corner and Daniel Pokorny take us down to 20th place, the last of the finishers. Franciszek Jagelski, that strategy with the tyres did not work, it would seem. Only 21st. Kuba Rajski, Maximo Tovagino and Radek Vavra, the last of the 24 finishers in that race. 3 retirements, Xiao Ziyun, Leo Nielsen and Sky Parker. Let's go through the highlights then. Let's see how things broke down in that last race. This was the race start. Gast trying to go around the outside, but Pavan would have none of it. Shut the door there to take second place. That was probably the most difficult part of the race for race leader Scott Marsh. This was a good scrap. Lewis Francis lost a few positions early on, had that move with Peter Stiller. Jacopo Martinezzi keeping things ticking along. Yes, not race wins, but consistently in the top 10 so far this weekend. The championship leader here on home soil. Good moves from Burnett. Very good overtaking from Luna Flusha. Always a risk to put the new tyres on this early, but she made the risk pay out on the way to gaining 13 positions in this race. Peter Stiller gets past Elliot Kaczynski. That was on lap number 4, but Kaczynski would come back on the run into turn number 13. Good side-by-side racing there into sector number 3. So there's another angle of it. You can see the camber of the corner there, leaving Kaczynski with a good bit of advantage through that part of the course. Very good stuff from Xiao Ziyun before his retirement. Right now, though, let's head down for the first time today to Parc Ferme and Anthony Jordan.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Yes, indeed. What a race that was. And with our race winner, Scott Marsh. Scott, so far undefeated. A brilliant run for you. How are you feeling so far with the racing?
Yeah, it's been good. I've really enjoyed myself. Just sort of driving fast laps, and at the end of the race, look back, see I've got a gap, and I can just save the tyres from there.
You're joint on points with Christian Costora, of course, both of you with 150 points. That race is coming up later on today. Are you looking forward to that? Because that's going to be quite the fight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can do the same as I've done in the previous heats, but it'll be close.
Have you been studying what he's been doing? Because racing lines where he's braking, things like that, to see where you could possibly get a move done later on?
Not really. I mean, I made pole overall, so I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. Well done, Scott. We'll see what you can do later on, indeed, under the sunshine here. Brilliant stuff. More cars just coming in. You can see the likes of Marco Gas Machine as well. They're just getting sorted out. Brilliant race for them, as well as the rest of the field coming through. Luna Flusha is just here. Want to have a quick chat? No, we're not going to have a quick chat. No, you sure? Come on, Luna. You want to chat. Luna, brilliant race for you there. Fresh tyres on board helped you out. How are you feeling?
Well, the weekend's not been the easiest so far. Qualifying was not good. But now we gambled, go for new tires early on the weekend, and I think it paid off, but we need to manage the tires now for the rest of the weekend.
What are you thinking to the track? You enjoying it?
Yeah, it's a nice track. Not much time to rest, but I like it. Lots of corners.
Excellent. Congratulations. Well done. We'll see you out there later on. Brilliant stuff from the drivers down here, but plenty more action coming up. Let's head back up to the box with you, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Great work down there in Parc Ferme, catching up with Scott Marsh and Luna Flusha. We swiftly move on, though, to our next race. It will be back to the OK Junior category here in Viterbo for the third round of Champions of the Future 2025. And it's the turn of Groups B and E to head out onto track for, again, 10 laps, just under 13 kilometres, 12.94 kilometres to be absolutely exact for the drivers here. There are your drivers in the pre-grid under the awning there. Dan Alaman on the left-hand side of your screen will be on pole position once again for this one. Juan Garciase alongside. Very contrasting fortunes for those two drivers through the third round of heats. This is, of course, the start of round 4 that we're going into now. The pressure rising all the time. But so far, the last couple of weeks, Dan Alaman has had answers for every single question that drivers in the sport have thrown at him. He's been very, very good with his racecraft these last couple of weeks, and he's converted that here in Viterbo in Italy for this third round of Champions of the Future 2025. We'll have another opportunity here to go to the top of the standings in the intermediate points. Big thanks once again to all of our marshals, to our track workers out there, keeping everybody safe and running. There's the other driver on the front row of the grid for this one, Juan Garciase. The Mexican is fired up, ready to go and get a good result again for Parallel Motorsport. 2 wins yesterday in the first 2 rounds of qualifying heats. Beautiful conditions here in Italy. Not a cloud in the sky. I tell a lie. There's 1 cloud in the sky from the position of the commentary box. Air temperature 24 degrees. Track has rubbered in beautifully across the course of the last few days. All set for a good race here. There is the whistle. There is the instruction for the drivers to head out onto the first of their formation laps. In a moment, we'll take you through the grid for this qualifying heat between groups B and E in OK Junior. It's Dan Alleman on pole. Juan Garciase on the front row as well. Noah Backlund goes from row 2. Is joined by Giacomo Giusto in the number 77. Bruno Blanco and Alexander Lazarus start on row number 3. It's Andrea Mani and Denny Babacek on row number 4. Dean Hugendorn and Ludovico Mazzola go from row number 5. It's Turner Brown and Santiago Diaz de la Vega on row 6. Giole Girardello and Egon Pedrotti start on row 7. Completing the first half of the field on row 8, it's Marcel Chebo and Roland Nagy.
Jean Jose and Gustavo da Silva go from row 9, the Lavendo Rata. And Michelle Orlando on row 10, rounding out the top 20. Victor Stelmach and Jagat Troja on row 11. They'll have Drew Waltz and Henry Constant Kumpin on row 12. Darek Dukowski, Emilia Wyszymierska round out a all-Polish row number 13. They'll have Marcel Capella and Pietro Bagutti on row 14. Mats Rowan and Gilles Herman on row 15, with Georgi Fomishev on row number 16 at the back of the grid. Andrew, plenty of action to be happening in this one. Looking forward to seeing how that Juan Garciase and Dan Alleman battle is going to go.
Absolutely. Also looking forward, Anthony, to seeing how our new tyre users are going to do in this race as we get into the latter round of the qualifying heats. Understandable that more are being deployed. They're all on the left-hand side of machines. Here's the list of drivers, if you're trackside, to look out for. The 68 of De La Vega, the 121 of Pedrotti, the 43 of Nagy. They're all on the anti-pole side of the grid. Zhang, the 25, Endo, the 21, Stalmach, the 80, Waltz, Drew Waltz, that is the number 57, Chapler, the 111, and Wyszymierska, the number 60. Oh, there's a problem there on the formation lap for the 75 and the 82. That's your 2 drivers meant to be starting on the 3rd row of the grid. Alexander Lazarus and Bruno Blanco have come together on the entry to turn 13. What has happened there? The 82 is going to get re-going potentially, but Lazarus is out of this race before it's even begun. We obviously are going to go around again for another formation lap.
Well, that's understandable, of course, because the 3rd row isn't there. So basically, Andrea Mani and Denny Babacek have to leave the gap there. We didn't see that, but yeah, both of these drivers
both out
of the race. That is very dramatic. Usually it's on the opening lap we see drivers like this, not on the formation lap. So what on earth happened between those two? I'm going to go with the lines that they were trying to get temperature into the tyres.
Oh, that was stupid.
Well, probably took the words out of my mouth. I can't really say that, but yeah, understandably, there was a moment between those 2 drivers where clearly they shouldn't have done something that they did.
Yeah, it's a big part of the sport. You've got to get the basics right, and I'm afraid for Bruno Blanco and Alexander Lazarus, they haven't done that on this occasion, and yes, it's not going to rule them out of the top 72. Now, is this a replay? Let's have a look. So it's the 3rd row back, very close together as they're running in, and they just run into one another. They just do not give each other the space down the middle of the road. I'm afraid to say that is a bit of a schoolboy error on both parts there. very unnecessary incident.
Well, let's see if we're going this time. No, another false start. The lines weren't screwed up there, but yeah.
That's bizarre.
Very bizarre. I mean, I don't even know what to say along those lines because, yeah, they just didn't give each other the room. It kind of gives me Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton vibes at Azerbaijan, Baku.
Yes.
Yeah, do you remember that when they were side by side and bunching wheels? It didn't end in the same way that did, but yeah, it gave off those vibes, didn't it?
It did indeed. Well, so we'll recompose ourselves ahead of this one and see whether we can get a race start going this time around. Dan Aleman and Juan Garciase on the front row, Noah Baglin and Giacomo Giusto on row 2. Row 3, scratch it off, it won't be there. So Andrea Mani and Denny Babacek will be, to a degree, quite happy with that because they've got a bit of a clear run now at the start of this race. Dan Aleman will lead the field round turns 13 and 14. Past Marshall Post 9, we're beyond the red line for drivers to move up and down the rows to get themselves ready. Just got to go around turn 16 now, past Martin Bean, who again is just telling the drivers to keep it nice and steady to get us going at this time of asking. And no, we go round again.
And now another flag is, I think, going to appear now for our drivers because that's 3 false starts.
It's 3 false starts, but I would question whether the first one was the fault one of those at the very front of the field because the officials were dealing with the incident down at Marshall Post 8. So, so we'll wait and see what happens next.
This time, Dan, send him round. If he goes again, do the report.
Wow, if he goes again, do the report. There's the words there from race director Martin Bean. Who that is, though, is an excellent question. Now, is this accelerating too soon? Is this drivers who are not leaving the gap behind, you know, that third row, of course, missing? Is it the drivers who are on the 4th row that he's referring to? We're not too sure right now, but, you know, eyes will point at some of them. This is still a tense moment for these drivers now because, like you say, if that's Aleman or Juan Garciase he's talking about there, that means that they could be in line for potentially picking up a penalty at the end of this race.
Yeah, it's not what we want to see. We want to see racing here at Viterbo. The drivers will come round turns 15 and 16 again. And, well, Martin Bean is pointing at somebody, but I couldn't quite tell who that person is. Right, are we ready for race starts on this occasion? We're into the tram lines. This is looking a bit better. Yes, we are. Lights out, away and racing. Finally in OK Junior for Groups B and E. They get it right this time, but they don't get it fully right through turn 1. There's incidents, there's drivers having problems. By the time we get to turn number 2, into turn 5, Dan Aleman is your race leader, but a scrappy start here in Italy.
Yeah, Gustavo Marquez de Silva there on the Birilant machine was the one recipient of a big rear wheel over his engine, and he is ground to a halt now on the exit of post number 3, and he kicks his kart in frustration. I think it's not really frustration. I think he's trying to clear the rear bumper. Now, this is the opening lap. He can get that restarted, but I don't think the marshal's going to let him try. He's trying to get it restarted, but yeah, we'll come back to that later because the racing's still on at the front here. And yeah, you can see the marshal's he's furious at the marshal because, of course, he said, well, you didn't even give me the chance of getting it restarted. You just dragged it away.
Yeah, not happy with how that has broken down. Dan Aleman leads at the end of lap 1. Noah Baglin up to P2. Andrea Mani's had a great start, up 4 places to P4. Juan Garciase down 2 to 4th. Giacomo Giusto still there in the top 5. As Dean Hugendorn's another driver that we need to keep an eye on in this race. In the red, white and green of Prema Racing, of course. 6th on the road. Great start for Drew Waltz, by the way, up 12 positions on that first lap, and he's on the outskirts of the top 10.
Yep, nice run for him in this race, picking up those places. Now Andrea Mani under pressure. Look at the train he's got behind him in the form of Justo, Hugendorn, Babacek, Brown, Mazzola, and Girardello. They are all there trying to close in.
But Mr. Baglin was definitely pushing him down the start.
Well, Baglin pushing down the start there. Now, is that, yeah, keeping them, is that for with the start there? So is Baglin pushing Aleman down the straight? Is that what they're referring to?
I would guess so. We'll bring you more news watching at home and as and when we receive it. Dan Alleman, new fastest lap of the race, 54.843. Bit of a train forming now behind Andrea Mani. And at the risk here, again, we're into round 4 now. A lot of the drivers will be aware. It's the penultimate round of heats. This is moving points. This is when you've got to get the momentum going to carry you through the rest of today and then into those super heats. You can't sit back at this stage. The risk for Andrea Mani here, if he gets overtaken by one driver, I would not be surprised if the whole pack come through here. I can understand why he's trying to hold the track position, and it's a good circuit to do so, but it does come with some inherent risks. Fighting going on in the second half of the field as well. I think there was a good move being put in there by Georgi Fomichev up to a couple of positions in the 1-1-2.
Yeah, indeed, right at the back end of the field, now up to 26th place. Still with a gain of 5, though. That is at the benefit of the, of course, 3 retirements so far in this race of Blanco, Lazarus and Marquez. Eyes on the rest of the field, though, heading up to the highest part of the circuit at turn number 10 as they redescend down in towards the likes of turns 12 and the biggest overtaking opportunity we see over the course of this weekend and under investigation. Jagrat Titoja will be heading to the stewards at the end of this one for potentially causing a collision. Huggendorn, though, in the middle of this pack has got Babacek for company behind and is piling on the pressure of Yusso and Gathiase up ahead as they exit out of the final corner and back onto the start-finish straight. It is Andrea Mani holding on to the 3rd place train that extends now up the hill towards turn number 5.
Yeah, this is better from Andrea Mani because he's kind of proven his point now to the rest of the field behind. As down the inside of 5th place goes Huggendorn on Justo there. No opportunity for Danny Babacek to hop through. You know, he's held his position as Andrea Mani, and he's now got into a rhythm to show, look, I am here in 3rd place. I've got the pace to hold 3rd place. Don't send it on down the inside into turn 12. Let's keep working together here and try and put the front 2 under a bit of pressure. Nice move there from Denny Babacek. That's a really good one into turn 12. Gives him 6th place ahead of Giacomo Giusto.
Indeed, right. Let's make a count then of these drivers going through as, again, seeing that good charge from Drew Waltz in this one still in P8 with that 15th place gain. Orlando having a tough one on that one, has just lost out to Zhang Jose as well as Roland Nagy getting past Henry Constant-Kupin, moving back up into 16th place. Eyes fixated on this one because now he's got through. That's a 16th place gain now for Drew Waltz, getting past Justo.
Yeah, massive gains for Drew Waltz in this race, and I don't think Drew Waltz is going to be done here. We've still got a number of laps in this one to go. Warning flag has gone out for the 111. That is Marcel Chapler for Ward Racing, so the Polish driver, currently 20th on the road, is going to be getting a 5-second time penalty in this one.
Oh.
There's a lovely go. That's Turner Brown down the inside, but he's going to gain one and potentially lose one here side by side with Mazzola. Mazzola fights through. Lovely stuff from the Italian on home soil. Through goes Ludovico Mazzola into 8th place.
Yeah, that was tidy there. Just capitalised on that battle happening in front. So 1 step forward, 2 step back in the form of Turner Brown, but he's still in this fight. Well, I say that, he's just lost out once more because the overtake he got earlier on, he's just lost it. Justo back down the inside at turn number 5 and retakes that position with everyone closing in. You've got the likes of Egon Pavarotti who's there as well. He's also having a relatively decent race in this one, up 2 places. He's got Endo Arata for company. The Japanese driver for the Ward Racing team is in a good charge here. 6 places gained and is closing in on the fight.
A good drive here from Egon Pedrotti, you just saw there in the 121. We've not seen the Crown Motorsport machine high up the order too much so far this weekend, but there he is in 12th place at the moment. That's a gain of 2. Rata Endo also coming into play. It's been a very quiet weekend or race meeting so far for the Japanese driver, but he's up 6 places in this race so far. We're on lap number 8. This plus 2 more to go for the last heat in the OK Junior schedule before the lunch break. Right now, Dan Alleman controls it still. Has just gone purple through sector number 1, 1.5 seconds clear of Noah Baglin in 2nd place. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, there is Drew Waltz on your screens in the white and orange Kart Republic. as we have a look at a replay, move down the inside from Drew Waltz. That was him going through past Denny Babacek.
Indeed, big gains for Drew Waltz in this one now, 17 places. Just outside the top 5 now. This is an astonishing drive from Drew Waltz, again showcasing it can be done.
Yep. Yeah, especially built from that first lap as well, where he's already up into double figures, pulling his way through what was quite a fractious start here, or even before it got going, of course, for groups B and E. But we're into the latter stages of this one now. Here is the fight in and around 10th place. Turner Brown fighting with Egon Pedrotti. Pedrotti gets down the inside. Well, I think that's the first time I've seen a move be completed into turn 8 here this week. Anthony, great stuff from Pedrotti, now up into the top 10.
Yeah, it certainly is. This is a really good drive from him as they still going wheel to wheel there in the background. Down the inside, big send there for Endo Arata, who's pushing his way through as well. Roland Nagy is there, Marcel Seven all getting involved in this one, but he gets squeezed out wide, does the driver of Japan, and now he's going to have to go wheel to wheel there with the Forza Racing machine of Santiago Diaz de la Vega, who just manages to squeeze through, but stays now in 16th place as we go on to the final lap of this race, and Alaman continuing to impress, not only in the lead, a 2-second gap, and now another fastest lap of the race.
And we'll keep the pressure, the scoreboard pressure on William Kalesia. This will put Alaman back to the top of the order, 194 points from 200. Only Kalesia with a 4th from 4 in terms of race wins will be able to beat him at this stage.
Yeah, indeed. Here is that moves again down the inside. Hugendorn just getting the wheel alongside. No drama there whatsoever. Found the gap through 13. And gains another place. But here, Dan Alaman, he's not had to worry about anything so far because out of the final corner, once again, he takes the lead of the intermediate classification with 194 points to his name going into their races later on. He claims another one for the Ward Racing team ahead of Noah Baglin. Andrea Mani with the 4th-place gain finishes inside the top 3 ahead of Dean Hugendorn's 5th-place gain. Drew Waltz, though, did manage to gain another one, gets up into P5, an 18th-place gained for the American, who started all the way in 23rd place at the start of this one. Denny Babacek finishing in second, finishing 2nd-place gained in P6, out of Juan Garciase, still with a good result inside the top 10 in P7 ahead of Ludovica Mazzola. In 8th place, Giacomo Giusto from Egon Pedrotti, who rounds out the top 10 with a 4th-place gain. They'll make their way back to Parc Ferme. Here's a look at your full classification, provisionally, of course, after that race. Turner Brown finishing in 11th from Roland Nagy. Gioli Girardello finishing in 13th place from Marcel Cebu. Santiago Diaz de la Vega and Henry Constant Kumpin ahead of Endo Arata and Zhang Jose, who rounds out the top 18. 19th place downward seeds Victor Stalmack from Michele Orlando. Xavier Dukoski from Gilles Herman. Marcel Cabela from Matsuan Ruin, Emilia Vishamirska, all of them gaining places in that race. Jagrat Tetroja having a tough one after deploying the fresh tyres earlier on today, finishing 26th place ahead of Pietro Bagutti, and Georgi Fomichev finishing in 28th place. Only the 3 retirements, Bruno Blanco and Alexander Lazarus right at the start of it. Gustavo da Silva retiring on the opening lap of the race. But there on your screen, Dan Alaman took a few attempts to get that race started, but finds himself once more at the sharp end, leading the points as he goes into his last races later on today. The tension somewhat on his shoulders being lifted. Here's a look at the starts all of this. Well, this is the first one. Bruno Blanco and Alexander Lazarus. What on earth happened here? They just didn't give each other enough room. The wheels collide, and then that happens. Completely unnecessary between the 2 drivers, but, well, clearly they'll be having a discussion after that. After about 4 attempts, we did get a green flag start for the drivers, and it was a solid start once again for Dan Alaman, under no real pressure from the drivers behind. Juan Garciase got taken by Noah Baglin. It was Baglin up at the sharp end. This moment here for De Silva, he was trying to get it restarted. Well, he was trying to clear the bumper. He was then trying to push start it to get it going again. But the marshal had taken it already away from him, and that was a tense moment, which is why you see him so frustrated at the start of that one. Racing going on, and the man of the hour on this one, Drew Waltz, 18th place gained for the American for the Cup Republic Motorsport team, just siding his way through the field, one overtake after another. Hugendorn as well in a really strong position of that one, 5 places gained for him to finish in P4. A strong performance. Denny Babacek as well, also with a 2-place gain to finish that one in P6. But let's head down to Parc Ferme. Andrew Mather is down there, who I'm sure is with our current points leader.
I am indeed. Thank you, Anthony. Dan Alleman, the weekend just gets better and better and better. That is another race win for you, and that looked pretty easy out there.
So at the end, yeah, I had a big gap. I could go very slowly, and at the start I needed to push because Baglin gonna pass me, and yeah.
Bit difficult before the race. Both, I don't know if you were aware, both drivers on row 3 took themselves out. How did you keep your cool through those formation laps?
I wasn't cool. I was like, why don't they make a start? And I was not happy because I didn't make something wrong. So yeah.
But all eyes are going to be on you now. You're right at the sharp end. You retake the lead in the intermediate points. We'll see how Collegia does later on. But you're going to go into the last round of heats knowing that you could be on pole position for a super heat tomorrow.
I hope.
Good stuff. Dan, thanks for speaking to us. We'll see you again later on. Let's see who we can quickly find. Is he? Yeah. Well, go in English. Great move there through those last few corners. That looked like an enjoyable race.
Yeah, a good race and a good overpass to Brown. We have a good pass and yeah, a good race. Start P10.
And on home soil as well, how special is it to be racing here? You know, international level, big events, you know, here in Italy.
Yeah, very joy, and I want to say thank you to my family because and my team, and I enjoyed the race.
Ludovico, we'll see you later on. Thanks you very much for your time. We'll throw it back up to the commentary box. One more race to go, Anthony, before the lunch break.
Thank you very much, Andrew Mather, down there in the lovely Italian sunshine. 24 degrees now is the air temperature. Not a cloud in sight here, just an hour and a half north of the capital city of Rome. Like we were saying, one more race to go before the halfway point. It is qualifying heat B versus E for the senior OK category. That will be heading out onto the track next, and it will have the likes of Nicolo Coman and Jindra Peschel on the front row of the grid for that one. There they are, lined up on your grid, ready to go. And again, lots of talk for tyres in this one. Some fresh deployments further back in the order. We'll go over that a little bit later on in the race. But crucially, at the front of this one, no tyres yet to be deployed. Just to remind on the intermediate classification, of course, Scott Marsh and Christian Costor at this moment are undefeated, both of them. Their race coming up later on today. We will see what happens with them. As they will be out on track starting on the front row of the grid. As engines have fired up, drivers will make their way out onto the circuit and we'll quickly fire you through that full starting lineup. Nicolo Coman and Jindra Peschel go from row number 1. They'll have Kenzo Craigie and Chiara Batig on row 2. Oliver Kinmark and Daniel Keller round out row number 3 and the top 6. And as you see, no tyres deployed at this stage. Aston Sharp and Roman Kamyab are the first couple of drivers to think about going for tyres. Kamyab choosing it on the left-hand side, the same for the entire rest of the field. Kario Fairhand and Oliver Rasmussen on row number 5, also deploying a full set with Joe Turney and Gustavo Nardo on row number 6. Row 7 sees Sebastian Mint and Louis Cochet. On row 8 we'll see Lev Krutilov and Paul Antiotis, who has also gone for a fresh set of boots on the left-hand side of his cart. Row 10 sees Makar Sawalev and Bo Lowet also deploying those sets. They'll have the likes of Silenos Kolovos and Francois Cadal on row number 11. Emili Koivisto and Maximum Rafalik on row 12. Oscar Petto and Sun Yabi round out row number 13. Mathis Almer rounds out the 27 kart field on row 14. All of them with fresh tyres deployed at the back of the field. Their last attempts really here to push forward in the bottom stages. Of course, they just witnessed Drew Waltz in the juniors have an absolutely fabulous race there with the 18 places gained. And anyone emulate that in this qualifying heat? Well, drivers make their way down in towards turn 12. They'll be heading to the red line from this point onwards. Hopefully they'll be lined up and ready to go, but the field is pretty spread out right now. The field really needing to bunch it up at the front here because, well, the last drivers are actually only going into turn 12. The other drivers currently going around turn 14, so they've got a bit of work to close in here. But let's see if they manage to get it done. Nicolo Command and Yuri Peschel then on the front row of this grid. Are we going racing? The first time of asking as everyone slot themselves into position. Keep an eye on Chiara Batig in this one, starting on the second row of the grid. She had a brilliant start earlier on where she managed to sweep into second place from P4 into the lines. Lights around, we are racing down in towards turn number 1, but it's a brilliant start for the inside row. The outside row this time around did not get the start they wanted, and it's Command, Craigie and Kinmark who go 1, 2, 3 up into the braking zone of turn number 5. But keep an eye on this fight because it's all starting to close in here as they all concertina up as they go through wide on the entry there. That's a outlandish move there from Stelios Konovos, the Greek driver, trying to go through wide on the apex. The energy course running wide at the exit at turn number 5 as well. I think that's a little further down in the order. Is that Paul Andriotis in the 306 trying to get the early moves on this one, but not managing to find his way through. Down the inside, that's a superb little overtake, and that is Daniel Keller on the move now into P5.
Testament to this international level field, Anthony, that everyone's still running in this race. They had their elbows out a little bit through the first couple of corners, but they've all made it round. 1 lap down, 11 to go. Command leads from Craigie, Kinmark, Sharp, Kelleher, Peschel, Furhan, Turney, Krutilov and Batig. That is your top 10 after the first tour of the circuit. There's a move. Aston Sharp down the inside to take third place. Danny Kelleher had a small opportunity there to hop through past Kinmark as well, but has to stay in 5th place for now. Aston Sharp on the move for the CL Racing Team, the Charles Leclerc branded machine, up 5 places.
Indeed. Pushing through very nicely in this one, and another dive down the inside there. Beautiful little take for Joe Turney, now on a 4-place gain, getting past Peschel. And this is what we talk about in this early stage. Some drivers who have not deployed those fresh tyres at the sharp end now being caught by drivers who have done that. I mean, Joe Turney hasn't deployed them either, but he's still looking after them. He's had calm races so far today. I don't think he's been pushing those tyres too hard. He's thinking of that long game.
Long game indeed. You know, this phase is all about damage limitation after a so-so qualifying. Not disastrous for Turney, but not the kind of performance that we quite saw at Portimao. There's a lovely move. That's the 305 of Cara Furhan going through and into 4th place. I think in terms of the championship as well, yes, we're at the midpoint, but once we leave Italy, you know, attention will quickly turn towards the run-in. As long as Turney is outscoring Martinez, I think that's a solid base to be. Yes, Custoya is scoring very well in his races, but I don't think Turney should really worry about that too much right now, as there's a forceful move from one of the victory lanes going down the inside. But no, this is all right for Turney. He's always been there or thereabouts in the top 10, and as you say, he's not used those new tyres yet.
No, exactly. He's waiting a long time to deploy those, probably going into tomorrow. That's when he wants to deploy those. Nicolo Command still in the lead of this race, only with a gap of 0.4 of a second. Kenzo Craigie is on the charge, but Command has just set the fastest lap of the race, so he's going to try and extend that lead he's got right now. This is the battle, though, for 3rd place. Sharp, Fairhand, Keller and Kamyab close in formation as they head down in towards turn number 12, trying to chase that pack. But here, down the inside, Keller Fairhand gets the move done on Aston Sharp and moves up into 3rd place. But how much longer? Sharp's back down the inside, and now Daniel Keller finds the gap through. That's a brilliant move there for the Irishman, trying to capitalise on another overtake as Kamyab just again holds firm in his position, not able to find the gap through.
That's an important move from both Kelleher and Sharp to just arrest the momentum of Cara Furhan, using those new tyres pretty well right now. Roman Kamyab has to check up a little bit in the middle of turn number 3. This is a good scrap for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th places. New fastest lap of the race has just gone in from Kenzo Craigie, by the way, so we could have another battle between himself and Nicolo Command for a race win. We saw it yesterday in the second round of heats. Here they are heading down into turn 12. The gap was 3.5 seconds as a notice from race control. Kart number 306, that's Paul Andriotis, is under investigation for potentially causing a collision. Craigie chipping away. Good second sector there from the reigning OKJ World Champion. Still, of course, in his first year at the senior level. Another new fastest lap of the race. 52.851 as here goes an attack by Kelleher down the inside. Into turn 1. He's made it work by the exit of turn 2. Massive bravery there from the Irishman. Credit to Aston Sharp, who gave him racing room. That was a full send attack into one of the fastest parts of the course.
Yeah, I can imagine that Sharp was like, blimey, down the inside of turn 1. Nice move. Yeah, you can see how much it's concertina this train up now, and Joe Turn is right at the back of it, trying to pick his way through it as there's contact between Sharp and Kamyab there. I think Sharp was going to go defensive. I don't think Kamyab was intending to do that, and I think, yeah, that's going to be a dicey one between the two of them, because that was an almighty whack into that rear bumper, and that might have dropped a nose.
Yeah, that'll be the question now. Has Kamyab got damage? Oh, too wide through turn 16 as well. You can tell we're getting into the latter stages of these heats as Petrol's down the inside. Turney's going to have a go. Well, oh, Joe Turney, what a move through past Aston Sharp and Yuri Petrol there.
Dear.
Brilliant stuff from the reigning champion, who is now moving up the order and touching on the top 5.
They're all tripping over each other.
Out goes a Parolin and one of the DPKs.
Bolowet and Fastaonado both out of this race, and there was heavy damage already before that moment. The front end, you saw them going through the likes of turns 2, 3 and 4. They were absolutely all over each other, and that is literally a case of, yes, we've closed in on each other, but now we're all tripping over each other because everyone's going for those little micro moves here, there and everywhere, and that happens. So that's a big shame for them. Eyes on this one, though. Niccolo Comano, Kenzo Craigie, the gap down to 0.3 of a second here. Andrew, could Craigie go for another victory here?
He could go, and it's getting more crucial now. There was a 3-point gap between them in the intermediate standings before this race. If this race was to end like this, it would be 9. Craigie down the inside has got it done. Craigie down the inside. That was full trusted command to see if they were going to clash at turn 6. Command left the door open, and Kenzo Craigie takes the lead once again. He will flip the position as well in the intermediate standings with that one. That was a little bit unorthodox from Kenzo Craigie, but he made it work.
He certainly did. This is exactly what he needs. Really strong weekend for the young Briton so far here at the Viterbo circuit, but out of the final corner, they'll go on to lap number 9. Race is not over yet, though, Andrew, and Niccolo Comano is still right there in tow.
Yeah, we saw this yesterday from Niccolo Comano, a really good effort to then stay with Kenzo Craigie when in the second round of the heats he lost the race lead, and right now would still be on for consistently finishing in the top 3 through all of the heats so far. So this race isn't done yet for Kenzo Craigie. Out of things there is one of the Tony Kart runners from earlier on in the race. We've had retirements for Bo Levette, Fastaonado we saw down at turn number 5. Savalev, Kadal and Andriotis all out of this one.
I think Kinmark and Peschel have had drama out there because they've just tumbled to 15th and 16th on track. They are still in this race but have tumbled down the order. What on earth happened to them? And for the front runner on this grid, for Peschel, this has been a dismal race for him.
Yeah, let's have a look at a replay. This was from earlier on in the race. Paul Andriotis in the middle of it all there. And that's
what I mean by getting tripped over each other.
Yeah.
It just showcases how quick it is, and driving right over that rear bumper. Innocent party there for the MP machine there, and I think, who was that? Was that Emilio Visto that got absolutely smacked into the rear there, because he's tumbled down the order and a hefty bit of damage, and there's the Bolowet and Fastaonado moment. Really dramatic for them, and then there's Peschel and Kinmark, drove over the rear bumper and tumbled down. They got separated, and they were able to get rejoined, but all the way down in the field now.
That of course is our Tony Kart that was in the pits there, down in the weighbridge. So, well, it's taken a while to get going here at Viterbo, but we've probably got some excitement out there now. We're on to lap number 11, 2 to go. Craigie now takes the lead in the intermediate classification as well, but remember, Costoya, yet to race in round 4, is still there in 4th place, only 29 points behind with 50 to play for when we see Costoya come back out later on in the day. Biggest mover in this race, up 9 places, Hugo Marti picking his way through some of the action, is up into the top 10 now. Likewise, Emily Koivisto, despite having a little bit of a unscheduled meeting, shall we say, down at turn number 5. Emily's up 9 places as well to P14. Peschel and Kinmark, by the way. Actually, Peschel and Kinmark still circulating, so apologies. Still circulating out there, but now P15 and 16.
Yeah, I believe that Tony Carl we were seeing was from the previous race.
Okay.
They were still going
That's
over the
why I
weighbridge.
was confused.
On to the final lap of this one. Kenzo Craigie leads 7/10 of a second. Looks really, really comfortable here, not only in this race, but this weekend. The Prema team, we were saying it earlier on with how dialed in the karts look. I think that is across the board with all their drivers.
Super stuff from Kenzo Craigie for the second time this weekend. He's going to take a race victory down through turn number 12. Once again, Nicolo Coman has held position. He's going to get another big haul of points here for this second place. This has been a big step up from the Italian on home soil, but out of the final corner, Kenzo Craigie will lead at the lunch break midway through the 4th round of heats. His second win of the weekend so far. Once again, he gets one over on Nicolo Coman in that battle between those drivers in Group B. He hops back ahead of Coman in the intermediate standings. 3rd for Daniel Kelleher, 4th for Roman Kamiab. Joe Turney fights through to 5th place. Another solid haul of points for the reigning champion. Once again, keeping himself in play for later on in the weekend. Aston Sharp, right in the early stages, P6. Verhan, Mintz, Marti and Batig come home in the top 10. But it's definitely heating up here in Italy. Here is your provisional results. Continuing down from 11th place, Rasmussen, Cochet, Koivisto, Kolovos and Peschel all in that top 15. Kinmark, after a bright start, fell down there in that incident with Peschel to 16th. Rafalik, Repetto, Rossi and Omertas all in the top 20. Sutton in 21st, and that was the last of your finishers. Quite a few retirements in that race. Lev Krutilov, Bo Loet, Fausto Arnado, Makar Savalev, Francois Cadal and Paul Andriotis all not making it to the checkered flag. But that young man did. Kenzo Craigie on top again. Will have to keep working hard through turn number 5 or round number 5 of the heats later on this afternoon. But a front row start for a superheat, maybe even a pole position, is not out of reach yet for the young Mercedes AMG Junior driver. Let's have a look at some of the highlights then from that heat between groups B and E, and it was all kicking off in the early stages. Good start for Command, good start for Craigie as well. They made their way through the first couple of corners. Paul Andriotis having a moment there on the grass. Very good start for Aston Sharp. Nice move there down the inside of Kinmark. That was to go up to 3rd place, keeping ahead of those newer tyre users, the likes of Cara Furhand and Roman Kamiab in this particular race. Louis Cochet had a bit of a difficult one this time, fell back, tried to come back up the order, but in the end it was 12th place for the French driver. This was another look at the battle between Aston Sharp and Cara Furhand. Good opportunistic moves from Daniel Kelleher, having another strong weekend here in the Champions of the Future Championship. Roman Kamiab would get through. This was a spectacular move from Daniel Kelleher. Put his nose down the inside of Sharp, who gave him room. They went side by side through turns 1 and 2. In the end, it would be Kelleher's position. That was the clash between Roman Kamiab and Aston Sharp down into turn 12. This was superb from Joe Turney. Had got Sharp earlier on in the corner, squeezed his way past Peschel for another position there. This is how things ended for the likes of Makar Savalev, Fausto Arnado and Bo Loet. Emily Koivisto nearly involved in that one as well. Right now, though, let's head down once again to Parc Fermé and to Anthony Jordan.
Thank you very much, Andrew, here with our race winner and now points leader in the senior category, Kenzo Craigie. So far, this weekend's going pretty well for you. Tell us how you're feeling.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good weekend so far. We've had good heats and a good qualifying, so let's just try and keep that going into tomorrow.
We were talking about it. The Premier Team seems to have got a pretty decent setup for the wagons here. We were talking about it earlier on with Alpac Soy was racing. The front end looks dialed. It's the same for you as well. How's it going within the team, and what can you tell us with setup-wise?
Not a lot with setup, but yeah, the team's been really great for me. We've had a good pace all week, so yeah, it's been really good.
One day a driver will slip up and tell me their setup when I ask the question. But Kenzo, brilliant racing for you so far, and we look forward to seeing what you can do later on.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff there for Kenzo Craigie. Brilliant run for him. Like we were saying, we're going to be going into the lunch break now. But Andrew, tell us, what can we expect coming up later on today?
We can expect more of the same, I believe, as we run through the rest of rounds number 4 and then the final round of qualifying heats here in Viterbo. Another 10 races for us to get our teeth into after the lunch break. We'll kick off with groups D and F in the juniors at 5 minutes past 2 here local time. There'll then be a race every 20 minutes, switching back between the juniors and the seniors back and forth. So groups D and F first, then groups A and C through the categories to bring us to the end of round 4. Round 5 kicks off at 3:25 here in Italy. 6 more races through groups D and E, groups A and F across both of the categories, and then groups B and C will finish us off just before 5:30 local time here in Italy. Thank you very much for joining us here this morning. If you've enjoyed the commentary, my name's been Andrew Mather, Anthony Jordan alongside me as well. Enjoy your lunch break. We will be back in just under 50 minutes time for the resumption of Champions of the Future here in Italy.